You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hey, this is John Preston, Marine Combat Veteran and Pacific Records recording artist. Just reaching out to have you check out our new album, Battle Cry, Songs of America's Heroes, an album featuring phenomenal other combat veteran artists like Scott Brown of the Scooter Brown Band, Ryan Weaver, Rowdy Johnson, just an incredible mix of people. This is all veterans telling our stories and our lives, and we're giving 100% of our proceeds to the Valkyrie Initiative to help veterans and first responders integrate back into society. I myself have battled with post-traumatic stress for many years and lost my own brother, a Marine Corps veteran, to suicide. I ask that you step with us and make this happen. We are in pre-order right now and release on March 17th. Go to iTunes, go to Amazon, buy. We plan on making the charts and making it at a very high level, and your support right now makes a difference. This is the release of my new song, Superman Falls, which is actually about the loss of my own brother, which happened last year, and I would love for everyone to check it out, to listen, and hopefully it'll make a difference in many lives.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687. 687.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Millennials don't like Trump too much, but apparently they like his policies if they were presented by someone else. Millennial women are turning to dating older men. I wonder why. Could it be that the new wave of entitled, self-loathing, progressive, liberal, emasculated, and feminized, safe space-loving, environmentally friendly boys that refuse to consider themselves as adults until they're 30 years old are not mature enough for them? Also, a Portland liberal is the latest to become the symbol of the emotionally unstable left when she throws a crying tantrum over a Confederate flag. Rug. A popular science blog rushes to try and defend wannabe scientist Bill Nye, a returning topic for us, as actual scientists call out his show on the Twitter sphere. Also, a Christian school lacks the Christian compassion they preach when one of its students becomes pregnant and they publicly shame her. But first, I address the Manchester terrorist attack with a personal message about those involved and where we go from here. We begin there on the Generation Y Conservative Podcast. Welcome to the Generation Y Conservative Podcast. I'm glad you could join me tonight, even if you are from New Jersey, after bashing them publicly on
I didn't tell Tracy about that, by the way.
Oh, is she from Jersey?
Yeah.
Sorry, Tracy.
It's the second time.
Dude, again,
the exact same thing. Oh, is she from Jersey? Sorry, Tracy.
Well, here's the thing. Today, was it today or yesterday? Late last night, I drove out to Jersey for work. And one of my favorite comedians, I think it was Boise, Idaho, Dave Attell.
Yeah.
You know who Dave Attell is? All the best comedians that are out there right now are Dave Attell, Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
And they rhyme, too.
Yeah, right.
I think he was in Boise, Idaho, and one of his jokes was, the best part of Boise, Idaho is packing up and getting the hell out. Well, I said that about New Jersey. Because I swear to you, the running family joke is that every time we go out to New Jersey, something bad happens. Yeah. Whether it's me losing more money at the casinos than I would have over here in Bethlehem, or getting a flat tire, or ending up in God knows where with some horrible people around you in Trenton or something like that. You cross the border, it stinks sometimes with the manufacturing stuff over there. So I threw out the joke, and of course, some Jersey people jumped on it right away. And I don't take it back. But I do welcome you here tonight if you are watching the podcast. So if you're tuning in right now, you might be watching me live on Facebook Live. You can always find the page at the Generation Y Conservative. You can search for that on Facebook. You can also find me, more importantly, with the finished high-definition podcast in audio and video on YouTube. And what you have to do for that is actually search for the Generation Y Conservative. You'll come across the channel there. You can also find me on Twitter, which is at Gen Y Conservative without the E on the end, and interact with me there. There's been some fun interactions there, especially one with a... what was the latest one? It was over Ashley Judd.
Oh, God. Is she
a
still
lot
a
of people
thing?
were liking my... she comes out with these outlandish things, and Dana Lausch said something about Ashley Judd, and I said, when's the last time you heard someone say, you know what, Ashley Judd's making a lot of sense lately? With the crap that comes out of her mouth.
Right.
Let's see here. Brant's in here. Hello, Brant, another co-host that joins in sometimes. Okay, so we got Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can also find the audio versions of the podcast on Google Play, Stitcher, and now on iTunes as well, which is run through KLRNRadio, which you can find this podcast airing on Sundays from 3 to 5, sometimes 3 to 6 p.m. because I have that whole time slot and can take up that much time if I want. Big shout out to them. They're growing that station into a powerhouse. Lots of topics. It's a lot of political topics. They also have some science topics on there that deal nothing with politics. And they're trying to branch out into different sections. So if you have a good podcast that you're trying to get out there, I would encourage you to possibly reach out to them, even if you have a liberal podcast, because they're looking for different views, and it's growing by a lot. I think they get about 30,000 listeners a month right now.
That's great.
So Sundays from 3 to 6 is where you can find me there. Every month we spotlight a charity, and this month's charity that we're spotlighting is actually local here to our Lehigh Valley, and that is the Allentown Rescue Mission. So what is the Allentown? We've talked about the Allentown Rescue Mission, who they are, what they do, and different aspects. And throughout the month, I bring a little bit different information to you so you can decide if this is actually a charity that you want to be going after. So what is the Allentown Rescue Mission's Christian Living Program? Well, the Christian Living Program is a Christ-centered residential program for the restoration of homeless men to God and the community. CLP offers the good news about Jesus Christ and the spiritual growth opportunities, transitional housing, meals, clothing, life skills education, and referrals to other service providers. The 16-week program includes full days of classes and group sessions in life skills education. Students attend morning devotions, evening chapel, and daily Bible study groups. Clients develop healthy coping skills and receive training for anger management, conflict resolution, communication skills, and healing for damaged emotions. They receive assistance with resume writing, basic computer skills, interview techniques, and tools that will help them find and keep a job. I'm going across some important things, and I'll tell you why I find this important. Students also participate in money management and budgeting classes to prepare them for a responsible, debt-free life. They will open their own custodial bank accounts with the mission, supervised by their counselors. Clients also receive basic information about drug and alcohol issues, how to stop smoking, and receive suitable resources for their needs. So here's the thing. The best thing I heard was actually from Bill O'Reilly, was on earlier today. And he said that when you start talking to a liberal, if you're a conservative, and you're talking about not getting along with each other, why that is based on purely political opinion, you can't find common ground, right? If you can get the opportunity to talk to them and see their point of view and they see your point of view, if they're both open-minded on both ends, you start having great conversation. And he said one of the things is, liberals find conservatives as not compassionate towards other people. Yeah. And he said, I would disagree with you, because I would say that we're more compassionate, because not only do we see a problem and want to fix the problem with someone's life, being like homeless or something like that, but we also try to provide the means for them to achieve the way to get out of that. Yeah. Not just showing compassion for someone, like pat them on the back, we feel really sorry for you, and walking on, trying to find a way. And here you're seeing it with the Allentown Rescue Mission, which is you're providing a home, you're providing meals, if they want to, they're not forcing a Christian life on you, but they help you get out of drug and alcohol issues and stuff like that. And that's really what it's about, is not just here's some money, get back out in the street, and what are they going to do with the money? Especially if they don't have money management skills.
That's a big one too. And it all goes back to like the saying too of you give someone a fish, you feed them for a day. Yep. You teach them how to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. Mm-hmm. So it's the key difference is giving them means to prevent these issues from happening again in the future. Right. So that's kind of I agree. It's even more compassionate, than just saying, hey, here you go. Good luck out there.
Yeah, exactly. So you can actually learn more about donating or volunteering by visiting www.allentownrescuemission.org. It's Memorial Day, and it's weird. I always find it weird to say Happy Memorial Day, because you're actually celebrating the people that put their lives on the line and lost their lives for our country. Yep. And it's not something happy to celebrate, but they gave their life for the freedoms that we enjoy, the liberties that we enjoy. Yep. And I think that they would agree that the least we could do is celebrate those things that they sacrificed their lives.
I think it's fine to celebrate Memorial Day as long as the reason why we have that day is always at least in our thoughts and in our hearts and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of that, I actually have a message from our former president, President Obama, on Memorial Day. This was actually delivered back in 2008. Okay. And I always get a laugh because it's hard to find, because no one really covered it. But this is a message from from our former president, President Obama, on Memorial Day back in 2008. And here we go.
On this Memorial Day, as our nation honors its unbroken line of fallen heroes, and I see many of them in the audience here today,
So, Obama, President Obama, we honor the fallen soldiers, and he saw a lot of them out in the crowd.
Who knew he was a medium?
Yeah. I see dead soldiers.
I have a new show on TLC, Southside Medium.
I'm joined by Jennifer Love Hewitt. She had a very famous show, and we're doing great things together. And Bill Clinton's like, I like that, Jennifer Love Hewitt. Oh, man, I was going to kick out of that. And that was tough. I searched far and wide on YouTube to find that clip today, because I always bring up, and people are like, he did not say that. He did not screw up Veterans Day with Memorial Day. Yes, he did. I'm sorry, but he did.
It's not just mixing up the holidays. It's literally one sentence where you talk about the deceased soldiers specifically and how you see many of them here today.
Yeah. And obviously, listen, I'm ripping on the guy. I mean, if you turn on any show, a late night show right now, they're ripping on Trump for far simpler things right now. Melania's slapping his hands away for crying out loud. Twice. Yeah. But, I get to do this. This is my podcast, and I like ripping on Obama too, so deal with it. But yeah, I obviously, clearly what he was trying to say was we want to honor the fallen soldiers for Memorial Day, and we see some veterans here in the audience and thank them too. But it was just funny the way he said it, because obviously
he had the right idea, you know, so
his heart was in some place.
It was in some place.
All right, so listen, I've been changing the format around with the podcast, and I want to thank, number one, Brant, who's been a guest on the show before for criticizing the podcast and the setup. He's watching right now. And I also want to thank Mike here, because Mike and a couple other people that have been on the podcast have, when we start laughing and start cracking jokes, that's what's getting the most attention on the podcast. So I've actually switched my format around. I will cover serious topics, especially if they're the enormous topics of the week. Certainly, I don't want to glaze over things and make it look like some of Trump's screw-ups I'm glazing over just because he happens to be on our side and is in office. I don't think that's right. I think we should hold our own people more accountable than the opposing side, because otherwise we look like hypocrites when they get back into office again and we start criticizing them. But I do have, before we get into topics tonight, which we have a lot of really funny topics, and one or two serious ones mixed in there too that really got under my skin if you were following me on my Facebook page this week, especially in regards to the Christian school. I do want to address the terror attack. This is one of the topics, though, in Manchester. So before we head into tonight's topics, I want to address that. It was a terrorist attack at the Ariana Grande concert in Manchester on Monday. And I wrote a little something so I don't screw it up. I said, I put up a post earlier this week saying that two things are important to know about this attack: that innocent people were killed, and that it was Islamic extremists that perpetrated the act. I also took a shot at the people who were posting anti-Ariana Grande memes because of the anti-American things that she has said in the past, hoping that this hits her in the face and gives her some sort of political revelations in regards to the meme. The fact of the matter is that Grande is going to live with this on her shoulders for the rest of her life, and her political beliefs, whether they change or not, have nothing to do with this. Can she be criticized for the ridiculous things she has said or done or will say and do in the future? Absolutely. But separate them from this incident. Here's where I will agree with those that disagreed with my stance on Facebook. Yes, our political correctness for years has allowed this madness to continue and spread. Under President Obama, we saw terrorist attacks labeled as workplace violence, and the refusal to even identify radical Islam as a characteristic of terrorism. We have a large percentage of the population that believe we can stop this by simply living our lives as if nothing happened and by reaching out and spreading love and hugs. Can the parents of families of these victims wake up tomorrow and live their life as if nothing happened? But you can jump even further back to President Bush as well for his faults. Instead of hitting them with everything but the smashing thumb of God and annihilating them into a state where they would refuse to further attack us, we have instead chosen to draw out this war going on decades and have disabled our soldiers with rules of engagement that lead to more of our soldiers getting hurt or ending up dead than the actual enemies within their sight lines. I said that one thing we as citizens can do is pray for the victims and their families. And I recently saw a comedian that said, the response is always the same. Post hashtags praying for the victims and change your Facebook profile picture to the flag of the country for support. But what are your prayers worth? Not a damn thing. Well, I would disagree. More than a hashtag, actual prayers are worth everything, and anyone who disagrees has never felt the actual power of prayers answered. More so because they haven't led their heart to really follow through with a prayer. So my and my family's prayers go out to those affected by the most recent attacks, and I pray for the comfort and healing of the families. So that goes out to all you. Anything that you want to say about the attacks?
I feel the same way as far as, my thoughts and prayers are with the families and everyone affected in Manchester. And, the whole thing with Ariana Grande, too, you're absolutely right that this is probably something that's going to stay with her. Everything aside from politics. I don't know if you remember the attack in France in the concert hall. The band playing was the Eagles of Death Metal.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see? They had a documentary on HBO. I don't know if you had a chance to see it.
If it was the interview that I caught,
well,
getting chills just thinking about it.
I'm sure you saw that interview
I cried listening.
Oh, yeah, and he was even talking about like how if everyone had a gun.
Yeah.
How it would have been. So, and he I don't know his political leanings, but I wouldn't be surprised if before that event he might have been more on the liberal side of things.
Yeah, possible.
But his views changed, after that. But the documentary that on HBO was great, and you really see how that affected the whole. Yeah, definitely the whole band, what they went through. They detail, from what I heard, the Ariana Grande concert, it was over. She probably was in the back already. I mean, the one in France, they were in the middle of it. They saw people getting shot. They were climbing over bodies. The guitar player was locked in a bathroom, and he literally heard like a grenade go off from the cops like outside the door. These things will stay with them, and it'll affect them for sure. It's if anything, what the comedian said too about, it's always the same thing. Our prayers go out to you, but they don't mean anything. I feel like that applies more to the left in a way that they are always, oh, this is awful, it's a tragedy, but then they're the ones that want open borders and everything to just be like,
Well, there was the guitarist, was it, for Queen?
Yeah, Brian May.
Yeah, was in an interview afterwards saying that we need to show compassion and love, and that's going to change their minds.
Mm-hmm. And I love Queen.
Yeah,
but it's just you. There is the difference between your Muslim people and a lot of good people, and then the politicized Islam.
Islam is a political religion. It's a mixing of the two,
and it's This is I saw a clip from Steven Crowder. I'm sure you've seen the Steven Crowder show, Louder with Crowder. Mm-hmm. He's a conservative host.
Absolutely.
So I kind of he's one of my favorites too. But so I kind of want to give a reference credit to him basically. Yeah. But he was saying we kind of have to take more of a harder stance. You know what? That comedian's right. Just saying my prayers are with you isn't enough.
He addressed it too.
We have to get to the point where if you don't basically want to conform to Western culture in not in change your religion, but if you think that a female's testimony is only worth half of a male's, you're not welcome. Yeah. Sorry. If you think that female genital mutilation is okay, apparently there was a vote to outlaw I forget the country in the Middle East, to outlaw female genital mutilation, and it did not pass. Like, what? So if you're okay with that, you're not welcome.
I would love to know what the percentage of that was that it didn't pass by. Because, again, we talk about the difference between Muslims and Islamic extremists. Mm-hmm. But there's crossover there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Muslims that are peaceful, but still believe in that and Sharia law.
Yep.
Sharia law things, you were going down some of the list.
Oh, yeah.
There's some where if a woman is raped, she needs the testimony of 4 witnessing males or more, or something like that, to actually have a case that she was raped. Mm-hmm. And if she comes forward without those people to testify with her, she's stoned to death. Because it becomes an honor killing then.
Yeah.
For the family.
And it drives me nuts that we're the misogynists, you know? And even when it comes to, like, rape culture, campus rape culture, you know, in schools, you know, I don't even really like seeing people on the left, just liberals, like social justice warriors. They're like, well, you have to believe a woman because then, you know, it's wrong, you know, to discredit them or not demand proof, you know, when anyone can ruin this kid's life, you know, by accusing them of rape. Yet, we're supposed to just let everyone in from cultures that believe that if you're raped, you need 4 men's testimonies and stuff like that. It's crazy.
We are actually, I just heard it this week, I think we're on the anniversary of, what was it, 2007, 2008, when the Duke lacrosse team was falsely accused of raping the stripper that came to the party, and they found no evidence at all with DNA evidence leading towards these lacrosse players doing anything. But between that party and the next day when she went to the hospital, there was a DNA of 11 other men on her that they did find that had nothing to do with the lacrosse team. You know, and what happened? She was black, right? And Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson went down, showed up. They caused this big firestorm and everything, and still have not apologized for that. And there are Duke lacrosse players to this day that are having trouble getting jobs because
their lives are ruined. That's it.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's just crazy that we're supposed to just, you know, show love and compassion and everyone. I mean, how the other thing Steven Crowder brought up that I thought was a great point is that when President Trump addressed it, like, people were criticizing him and his choice of words and just calling them losers, you know.
The View.
But the one thing that Crowder brought up that is an absolutely great point is these people aren't afraid of dying. Nope. They're not afraid of you know, following laws or anything like that. But shaming them is one of the worst things you can do to them.
Yeah.
So in a way, calling them losers, scum of the earth, you know, things like that is like one of the things that you can do to them that will actually hurt them, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and we finally have a president that has the, you know, testicular fortitude to actually just do it instead of walking around on eggshells and making sure that everyone is happy and not, you know?
London, I don't know if England as a whole, I believe is on critical alert right now, which is the highest that you can go, meaning from what the Prime Minister said or something, that it means an attack is imminent.
Yeah.
You know? So that's a very serious situation. I believe that there was a video that was online that was taken down already where they were calling for something to happen in Las Vegas.
Yep.
Here. So, yeah. So,
I mean, it's a whole new level to, like, an Ariana Grande concert is kids.
That's what they were doing.
It's little kids.
That's what they did.
I mean, like, what? I mean, how much worse can you get than that? You know?
Well, and I think that was their point too. Was to, you know, we've become so numb to these things happening because next week it's not going to be that big of a story anymore.
No,
because that's the way the news cycle goes. I mean, so many big things are happening. You know, every week now. Every week, big things are happening. And, you know, Trump firing Comey feels like half a year ago.
Yeah.
It was 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
You know, and that's how many things have happened.
Not if you watch MSNBC.
Right.
That's still front page news, even though, and all you see about Manchester's little ticker, you know, like on the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that drives me nuts is this stuff is happening all the time. France, Nice, trucks driving through people, the concert, you know, there's stuff happening. Yet when Trump is, or any of the conservatives were campaigning on, you know, fighting radical Islamic terrorism and, you know, having a strong military, all you see on the news is, oh, they're fear-mongering. I never saw a bigger fear-mongering convention than I ever saw. It's like, well, you know, if you want to have your head buried in the sand, then by all means, go ahead. And then, you know.
And that's exactly what it is. Ignore it, hope that it goes away, but that is not what these people are trying to do.
No.
As a matter of fact, they're trying to do the opposite.
Yeah,
they want to chop your head off while it's in the sand.
Yeah, and it's a kind of like a sick, twisted thing now, too, where when something bad happens, I even see on the news sometimes like, oh, this is a good thing for Trump because it's like, now that this happens, it validates all the stuff that he was saying. It's like, well, no, it's not a good thing.
That's the sick
It's not a good thing, but it does validate the things he was saying because he was on the right track as far as where we should prioritize, the issues. Free college is not on the top of my list when I could be walking in a mall with my family and someone could just all of a sudden have a vest on that explodes or something like that. It's crazy.
Well, back to what you were saying though is, this was a concert that teens were at. Mm-hmm. She's famous for that age group.
Yeah,
and
preteens probably even.
Yeah, and I mean one of the victims I know was an 8-year-old.
Yep, 8-year-old.
And they I think they wanted to do that for shock value. Mm-hmm. And if there's one way to wake up people, it's to attack the most precious treasure to people, which is their children.
Yeah. When Pearl Harbor was attacked in World War II, the famous line was that a sleeping giant was awoken. Yeah. What is it going to take for us to wake up?
I thought it was 9/11.
You would think, And when you go back and watch things from 9/11, you hear Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, right, left, all wanting to turn the Middle East into a parking lot.
Yep.
Everyone. And then it just everybody just forgets,
Then what the heck introduced political correctness into the equation where it has gotten to this point? That has gotten to this point where you can't even identify terrorists as radical Islamists. Mm-hmm. Not Muslims, you know?
Yep.
The fact that the news stories today can't even focus on the fact that, they immediately jump to this is a Muslim ban on travel, right?
Yeah.
It's not a ban on countries that harbor terrorists.
Yep.
That they come from, because they've come from Russia. They've come from a whole bunch of different places. It doesn't matter where they're coming from. It's the fact that those are the places that harbor them, and on top of that, that those are places that don't vet the people before they get on the plane. And they just get on and come right over.
Yep.
Whereas we do our due diligence here in the country.
As big of a pain as it is with TSA, you still do it. I mean, when I went to 2 weeks ago, I went to a Metallica concert, and we went through metal detectors. The
and
it
just went off the whole time.
Yeah, right. Because we all just bleed metal anyway, But my belt went off, and I got the whole wand and everything. So I don't even know how anything could get in,
Yeah.
But there are always ways,
Oh, yeah,
but
they're sneaky.
Yeah, yeah, but
well, let's just go ahead and hit this other serious topic, and then we'll just kind of laugh the night away.
Okay, sounds good.
So, a New York Times headline reads, "Pregnant at 18, hailed by abortion foes, punished by Christian school." So, there's a lot of information here that I don't like reading things. I like having an open conversation. But there's just a lot of information here that I have to read over, and we'll kind of go back and forth on it.
Sure.
So Maddie Runkles is a senior at Heritage Academy, a Christian high school outside of Washington, D.C. And she is active in her school, excels at her studies, and is also taking college courses while finishing up her diploma. She's a practicing Christian, and in January of this year, she found out that she was pregnant. Her classmates are scheduled to walk at graduation on June 2nd because she is expecting a child. The school is not allowing her to participate. According to some more recent updates on the matter, she and all other students sign a vow every year that states that they will not be allowed to walk because the school has a rule against premarital sex, alcohol, drugs, and tobacco. So these students willingly sign a vow or a statement every year saying, I will not do these things because I'm a Christian going to a school, and if you get caught doing it, you cannot walk the ceremony. Okay? So, going right along with that, I'm agreeing with that up until this point here.
Yep.
Writers like Matt Walsh. Do you know who Matt Walsh is? Okay, he's a blog Christian blogger on the Blaze and stuff. And a lot of other commentators seem to believe that what people are taking issue with is her not walking at graduation. But clearly, if they sign this pledge every year, she knew very clearly that what the consequences would be, which is what I'm saying. The real issue here is the fact that they made her stand up in front of the entire school to announce that she had sinned. So this is from the New York Times article. Maddie did consider abortion. After all, she was mere months away from graduating and attending college. Having a child would be hard. Not impossible, but certainly challenging. But Maddie's parents were very supportive of her, and she chose life for her baby. Maddie comes from a Christian family and attends a strong Christian church where she has felt nothing but love and support since finding out that she is pregnant. Maddie was stripped of her leadership positions in the student council and Key Club. But the bigger punishment for Maddie is that she will not be allowed to walk in graduation with her classmates on June 2nd. Her principal, Dave Hobbs, was going to inform the entire school that Maddie had broken the rules, but Maddie didn't want the information to go out through a secondhand source, so instead, she voluntarily got up in front of the entire high school and tearfully told them what she did and that she was pregnant. This is coming from her. I stood there in tears while my dad read half of my prepared statement until I could compose myself and read the rest of my own, admitting my mistake, but also saying that I chose life for my child, said Maddie, who's 18. Ultimately, it was decided that Maddie would be allowed to finish her classes at school, but as punishment, she would not be able to participate in her graduation ceremony in June. So what's with this public shaming? I mean, Matt, you've seen Matt on my podcast, not Matt Walsh in this case, but Matt is actually a leader at his church oftentimes. I don't know if it's a regular thing for him, but he jumped in on commentating on this, and he pointed out some Bible verses to me, as in James 5:16 on confessing sin to one another, and also in Matthew 18:15 through 19 on the order in which you bring these issues in front of an increasing audience, which whole other separate story we know very much about because of something that we have personally dealt with. But essentially what it says in Matthew is he's saying you go to the person who has sinned and you talk to them about it, make sure that they realize it. If that doesn't work, you bring someone else to it and try to convince them. If that doesn't work, you bring like the elders of the church to a meeting and have them talk. Then a larger audience with the congregation and the community, and like it goes up and up and up until the person finally gets it, right? Well, it seems like in this case, Maddie she
got it. It seemed like she got
it. I think she realized it in the first meeting that she would have had with this Dave Hobbs principal. There's Christians out there that make Christianity look horrible. The Westboro Baptist Church. There's I'll get to it in a little bit, but things that are said that shouldn't be said. And in this case, this Dave Hobbs, essentially in my mind, jumped the gun and went, okay, well, we had our meeting. Now let's publicly flog her with like shame. In front of the entire school. Like this kid's pregnant. She's dealing with that enormous emotional pressure right now. Like, thank God her parents backed her up and said, choose life for this child. We will help you. We will support you. That's what I pray for everyone that lands in this situation. Because kids are it's an emotional mess when you're a teenager. No matter whether you're pregnant or not. I've never been pregnant. But don't assume anything. But I pray, I really do, that in cases where there's teen pregnancies, that a lot of them go unheard of with the parents because they're just so terrified at what the parents are going to do. And I hate to say it, but in some of those cases, obviously, it's justified. Like, you see teens get kicked out of the house. That's like the time that they need you as a parent the most. And it's just disgusting to me. This whole thing, I can understand not walking at the graduation. Okay, you signed a pledge every single year as a student. You knew it was coming. Okay, you engaged in an activity willingly. You knew the consequences, and a consequence has to happen. That's all there is to it. It's just like anything else. But to publicly shame this girl, that's unchristian in my mind.
I agree. It's I don't see what it's accomplishing, And the other thing too, you brought this up in a
it's to make an example of her. That's all it is. If you out there do any of these things, we're going to put you up on this pedestal in front of everyone and make you look like an idiot. Well, how is that Christian? That's not. And it's like I said, I don't know if I said it to you or someone else in the podcast, but it's, we have these people in our lives, and personally I'm talking about, of abolitionists for abortion, right? Abortion abolitionists that go to Planned Parenthood with these huge signs of like torn apart fetuses, like real stuff. Yep. And I'm not denying that. Like it's horrific. And as a matter of fact, there's a new Planned Parenthood video out this week. Did you see that?
You posted it. You talked about what was in you talked about what was in the video. Yes. I didn't even want to watch it. I can't even deal with that.
I mean, we're dealing with monsters in our society.
Yep.
People that can. The one woman said this is like a conference that they went to or something that Planned Parenthood nurses or people got together to talk about things, and the one nurse was like, oh, you know, it was really disgusting. One time an eyeball fell into my lap. You know, and like they said on the radios today, well, what does it matter? It's just tissue. Well, why is that so disgusting? Because it's a human eyeball. Yeah. It's a freaking baby. Yeah. Like you're putting up a wall in your damn mind as a sick person that you can't get it through your head that this is not a mass of tissue like a freaking tumor. It's a baby. Yep. You know, you're killing a baby. An eyeball fell in your freaking lap. Mm-hmm. You know, the one woman was like, oh, you know, we've all had the experience where a head gets stuck down there and you have to crush it and the skull is sharp. Oh, well, God forbid you cut your freaking finger after killing someone. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, I'm getting worked up, but this is the stuff of horror. You know what I mean? Yeah. What was the other one? Oh, the nurses that are performing an abortion and it doesn't go right and the baby starts to be born and it's still alive. So it would be considered a partial birth abortion. Yeah. So what they do is they quick grab another set of forceps and pull off the legs to let it bleed to death before they actually pull it out. Mm-hmm. So it's a full abortion. Mm-hmm. You know, it's...
Yeah,
I hate making Nazi references, but that's the sick crap that you don't view human life as human life, and you can do this stuff and go home at the end of the night, and somehow these people have kids, and can go home and look at their kids in the eyes after doing these things, and completely disconnected. Yeah. You know? But in this case here, I'm getting off track now. I completely lost my thought. Yeah. You know, so the people that go outside with the big signs and everything, and then they start shouting down people like, how dare you go in there and get an abortion? Like, that is not the Christian thing to do. I'm sorry. I understand what you're trying to do. I understand that you're trying to save a life here and everything. Mm-hmm. But if they were to set up a lemonade stand type setup with a chair on one side, a chair on the other, and a Keurig set up on it with some coffee cups. Do you want to talk before you head in there? I'm here for you. I understand what you're going through. Listen, I'm a religious person. If you want to talk about that, we can. We don't have to, though. Yeah. If you're having second thoughts, here, have a coffee. Just talk with me. You know, if you feel like you're trapped into making this decision, I have some alternatives for you. Let's just sit here and talk for a couple minutes. And if you want to go in there, I can't stop you. But I want to show you love. You know, reach across, so hold their hand. Yep. You know, I understand you're going through a really tough time right now. Mm-hmm. You know? Screaming them down and being a jerk like the Westboro Baptists is not the Christian thing to do.
And the thing is, too, some of those people going into, say, a Planned Parenthood, they might not end up getting an abortion. Yeah. Because a lot of times for, well, I mean, not to get into, well, whatever, I'll just get it.
Shoot.
So my wife and I, we were together for a little while, and then we found out that she was pregnant. Mm-hmm. And we went to, I don't think it was a Planned Parenthood, but it was a clinic just to go to for your initial, like, I'm pregnant doctor's visits. Yeah. Because, you know, we weren't going to, like, our family doctors or whatever, and no family knew yet, you know. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we didn't end up getting an abortion. So when they're going in and you're yelling at them, you don't even know what their intentions are. They might not be intending to have an abortion to begin with. Secondly, you know, I'm also a religious person, and I have my faith that I follow, but abortion, it's a very, I feel like for everyone it's a very religious topic. Yeah. But for me it's not even a religious, like, there's very little religion in how I feel about abortion. Okay. Just like an atheist we can all agree that murdering a 5-year-old is wrong. It's the same thing to me. Like, God, I have some friends on the left that are like, keep your religion out of the... Like, this has nothing to do with religion for me. It's just that I don't think that killing... And this... we said this last time. When I found out that we were having a baby, I felt like a father instantly, so I felt like there was a person right away. I understand there's scientific things before a heart starts beating and a body starts forming, but just me personally, I felt like instantly I was going to be a dad, you know? So it's not a religious thing for me, honestly, even though it is for so many people. But I kind of have even... I even feel weird saying pro-life, pro-choice. Okay. You know what? I'm pro-choice. You made a choice and got pregnant. Yes, exactly. And I'm also pro-consequences. Yeah. And I'm pro-responsibility. Like, that's it. So you know what's going to happen. And there are situations, you know, rape, incest. I've heard stories of a 9-year-old getting raped and getting pregnant. So... You know, I understand their outlet, but if you're 20-something, my wife was in her early 20s, and you knew what could happen, and then you know, okay.
And look, he wouldn't be wearing a T-Rex costume.
Oh, you saw that? It's ridiculous. Falls over. Yeah. So you all right? You're pro-choice. You made a choice, and now you're pro-consequences and pro-responsibilities.
And I'm actually glad that you brought up the you don't have to be a religious aspect, because I'm actually getting ready, working with our pastor right now, to do a joint talk where I talk about the abortion issue and how to approach both religious people and non-religious people about abortion and talk to them. And then he's gonna and also include some of the Bible verses that pertain to that. And then it switches over to him going through with those verses and explaining why it's important. And what I said to him was, I really feel led to talk about this because, you know, as religious people, if you're really religious, then you don't need any more arguments, right? But if you're not, and you have a religious person approaching you, trying to tell you not to, and throwing Jesus at you,
a wall goes up.
It's a wall. Yeah, it's a defensive mechanism right away, and you're not going to get any further, right? Which is why, like I said, the best thing to do sit outside. I'm religious. If you want to talk about that, that's fine. But you know what? There's other things that we could talk about on, you know, alternatives. Yeah. You know, let's talk about how I can help you.
Yeah.
You know,
it drives me nuts. It drives me crazy when I have friends on the left and they post stuff about abortion. They're like, keep God out of my women's bodies and things like that. And it's like, it's not. It has my thoughts on that have nothing to do with God.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too that also drives me nuts in regards to this that they say is, oh, you know, Trump's going to get rid of children's health care and cut the CHIP program. So they're all pro-life until it deals with this. Like, this goes back to pro-responsibility.
Yeah.
God forbid, I think you should be able to take care of your kids.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Oh, God. Like, oh, man. We're so pro-life until it has to do with you taking care of your kids.
There was a video a couple of years ago of a woman that had like 16 kids with 4 or 5 different fathers, and something about, I think her welfare was taken away.
Yep.
And she's like, well, who the heck is supposed to take care of my kids?
You.
Like, what? And the fathers, where are they? Like, get them back in the life.
Yeah,
what the heck?
We have a friend from T-Mobile, Vic. I don't know if you ever see his posts.
No.
Vic, if you're watching what's going on.
He befriended me because he's liberal.
Oh, really?
And he hated my opinion.
He hasn't befriended me, and I kind of go back and forth and stuff, too. I think maybe it's because we like the same soccer team, too. That kind of
okay, yeah.
But he posted something about...
and I love Vic. I love you, Vic.
Yeah, I don't know why if you're watching... Yep. Yeah. So, he posted a story about like someone was saying, you know, if when a black person has 16 kids, they call it irresponsible, but when a white person has 16 kids, they call it no. Oh, shut up. But no, they call it whatever that show was on TLC plus 8. Yeah. You know, K plus 8. And then if a Muslim does this or marries multiple women, they call it misogynistic. But if a white person does it, they call it sister wives. And so I responded to his post and I said, listen, I think I totally agree with you in the discrepancy and how we make it okay. You know, that was the definition of white privilege. That's what the post was. And I said, listen, I agree that that's wrong, that we're saying it's okay for white people to do. Yeah. But I said, but just so you know, the fact that that's happening doesn't make all the ethnic ones right. Yeah. It makes the white people also irresponsible, misogynistic. Yes. So you know, absolutely. Where are you going with this?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So going back to the story here, I said that the fact is removing her from leadership positions in extracurricular activities and not allowing her to walk in the graduation ceremony was enough punishment. And I agree, she should be removed from leadership positions too. The public shaming was outrageous and very overboard. So shame on this Dave Hobbs, the principal of the school, and his actions. One more very insightful thing that Maddie said, the girl in this situation, was, this is very important. Some pro-life people are against the killing of unborn babies, but they won't speak out in support of the girl who chooses to keep her baby. Mm-hmm. Honestly, that makes me feel like maybe the abortion would have been better. Then they would have just forgiven me rather than deal with these visible consequences. Mm-hmm. That's what these Christians have done. They have forced her into a position where she actually thinks that considering abortion would have been the better thing to do because they would have just forgiven her for that action. Yep. Instead of being responsible and going through and saving the life of the baby. Mm-hmm. That's pretty sick. Yeah, we are forcing these kids into that type of mentality.
For someone as young as she is, too, to decide to keep the baby, that's to be commended, I think.
Absolutely.
That's courageous, you know. And I even I want to disagree a little bit on as far as I understand that she signed a paper saying that she wouldn't be able to walk, you know. But I mean, as a former high school kids are idiots. I mean, they're told by their school they have to sign this thing.
Oh, we are going to be talking about idiots.
Yeah, right.
Next couple articles of kids.
Yeah, especially considering that she took the high road with dealing with the consequences and the responsibilities of what is going to be ahead of her for life. Yeah, I wouldn't not let her walk. I guess that's just me. But I do get she signed a contract. She knew ahead of time, and dealing with consequences. So I kind of get that one, but even though I'm kind of like,
what good is signing a pledge though if you see an example?
Yeah, you're right. I agree with that. I just think that I don't know if the kids have a choice to sign the pledge. Mm-hmm. I feel like if they're like, hey, you know what, I don't know if I can do this. Then it's like, okay, leave school, go to a different school. Yeah. But I get it. She signed it, and you are at 15, 16, 17. You know what you're doing. As far as taking the leadership, removing her from leadership roles and stuff like that, you brought up in a previous podcast that, a church with every pew has sinners or something like that, you know?
Yep.
So everyone is a sinner, and she did sin, you know, and made a mistake.
All sins are weighed equally.
Yep. And is owning up to it. When it comes to like things of leadership positions, this even goes to how I feel about like affirmative action and things like that. If she's the most qualified for a position, I still think she should be able to do it. Because, again, her getting pregnant and her sin, that guy, whoever runs the school, he's a sinner. And he runs a school. Yeah. He is in a leadership position, imposing this on this 18-year-old girl. So, I feel like there should be some flexibility there on top of not making her...
To your point, one of the things I said in the original post that I put up is... exactly what you said. We are all sinners, right? Mm-hmm. And that being the case, this Dave Hobbs is obviously a sinner too.
Yep.
He should be up on the podium every freaking morning talking about the sins that he committed the day before. If that's the case. You know what I mean? If that's the public shaming that you want to do, it's going to be a long freaking day going through the students and having everybody go one by one and doing what Catholics do in private in the confessional publicly to the whole school.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I asked the question, is this what we want the footprint of Christianity to look like? to have Christians contemplate committing evil acts because their Christian counterparts would forgive them more easily.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We need to continue to label sin as sin and not excuse some as outdated, but we also need to hate the sin while loving the sinner and helping them navigate their life if they are reaching out for your hand. You know? And that's exactly what I was talking about. There's a couple things wrapped up in there. Number one, trying to help them out. That's exactly the situation I was talking about. But at the same time, recognizing sin as sin, that's a big thing right now. You know, we have churches out there that say, well, this is no longer sinful behavior. You know, we all know what it is. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. But, you know, you're leading, what you're essentially saying, in my mind, is the word of God here is true, except for this. Well, if you tear that apart, everything falls apart, because everything would unravel. It's a string from a sweater, right?
Yep.
You can't say one part of the Bible isn't true, because it unravels the whole thing. Well, if that sin is okay, then why can't I just kill someone? You know what I mean? Why can't you know, whatever the sin is? You know what I mean? And again, like you said, we're all sinners. I'm not saying to be a perfect person and go out there and be sinless, you know?
Yep.
But recognize what it is. You know, recognize what is going on as sinful behavior, and go into a confessional if you have to. Stand up in front of a crowd if you want to. I don't care.
Yeah, or
what
even
you do. Just say it to yourself. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Like,
if anything, in prayer, you can, you know.
Yeah. Well, listen, what you're doing, if you are one of these Christians that are in a church, especially if you're a pastor that is saying these types of things, is you are literally, or figuratively, I guess you'd say, or metaphorically, I don't know.
Yeah.
You're stepping between them and God and becoming a wall from them to truly reaching the Word and God.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to get all religious on people, but that it's a serious thing that's going on.
Yep.
Because I think that it's one of the crumbling foundations of Christianity in the world today is false testimony and false leadership in the Word, and I think that's concerning. So, so that's that. You ready to go on to Millennials?
Let's do it.
All right. So if you're under the age of 34, you're into maybe a young teen now or something like that, you're considered a millennial, and you are a pimple on the butt of society. The Institute of Politics at Harvard University released a spring survey last Tuesday on millennials' attitudes towards President Trump. They love him. No, they don't.
Yeah.
The study actually found that 32% of 18 to 29-year-olds approve of Trump's performance, and 41% of respondents give Trump a letter grade of F through his first 100 days in office. So, you know, the highest percentage of people give him the lowest grade possible in this case. But when asked about major planks of Trump's agenda, millennials issued broad support for the president's trade policies and law enforcement priorities. So what they're saying here is, without Trump's name attached to the policies that he's proposing, like, do you agree with Trump on this? No, absolutely not. Well, and great thing. Okay, this goes back to the defensive mechanism, right? Which is for a non-religious person, and you throw up Jesus or something like that. But that conversation's over.
Yep.
You are not going to get through to that person because you just triggered them with a word that's going to raise their defensive mechanisms, right? In this case here, you know, if you say, do you agree with Trump? Don't go any further, because that's it.
Yeah.
If you said the word Trump, if the president right now, Donald Trump, anything like that, or the Republicans, you throw the survey out, right? Do you agree that we should stop the inflow of drugs and weaponry coming into the country through our southern border by implementing security measures? Yes. You know what I mean? Like, Okay, did you know that Trump is proposing that?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, come on.
We've seen tons of YouTube videos about this, too.
Yes.
Even some of the late night shows and everything that rail on him. They even do, like Jimmy Kimmel's
or
done,
they
like Man on the Street.
Yes,
where
they attribute, like, the person that they supposedly hates actions to the other candidate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
You know, I mean, they got liberals back in the McCain-Obama race when they were like, how do you feel about Obama picking Sarah Palin as his running mate? Oh, I think it's a great choice. I think she's going to do a great job. On.
There's a big debate about having to show your ID to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Screw that. You should have to take a test.
Yes.
You should have to pass a simple test in order to be allowed to cast a ballot.
Yeah.
Because there are idiots deciding the future of everyone for the next 4 or 8 years and beyond. It's crazy.
I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
Are you willing? Are you willing this summer to do Man on the Street stuff with me?
Yeah.
Okay. I need it. I have some great ideas that I've thought of for over a year now for Man on the Street stuff.
Yep.
And it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
If you're willing to be like my camera person or something.
Yeah.
or even switch off and have you do some stuff too.
I knock on people's doors while they're eating dinner for a living, so I have no problem going up and talking to people.
Okay. So back to this here. So they disagree with...
P.S. If you need cable or internet, give me a call.
They don't like Trump.
Yeah.
They give him an F. But when they're asked about his policies, by and large, 80% of his policies they agree with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So 60% said that cracking down on countries' illegal and unfair trade policies that hurt American workers would make America better. Only 13% said it would make the country worse. 13%.
Like,
that's a huge disparity.
It is.
Oh my gosh. So this is what someone said. In fact, we found 50% of Democrats actually believe that this makes America better, said John Della Volpe, polling director at Harvard Kennedy School's Institute of Politics. And we found that 37% of the same group of 18 to 29-year-olds believe that this policy would have a positive impact on them and their family. Only 14% indicated that it would have a negative impact. Okay? Oh, it doesn't stop there. Nearly half of respondents, 48%, said ending the anti-police atmosphere in America and empowering law enforcement would improve the nation, compared to the 24% that said it would make America worse. So this whole... Look, Black Lives Matter, there's some kernels of truth to that movement. I will not deny that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Matt has talked about certain things. He recommended 13 to me. 13th, I think it is. On Netflix, it's kind of a documentary or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Great things in it. Also some stupid things in it. But it talks about looking back at history and seeing where all this crap really started. Now, Reagan and Carter had the war on drugs, which really did a crackdown on the black community, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then, when Bill Clinton got into office, the 1994 crime bill that he implemented under his administration is what supposedly did a mass incarceration of the black community. And really, the big one into that was the 3 strikes. Have you ever heard of that? Essentially, if you get caught for the same thing 3 times in a row, you're in for life.
Yep.
I disagree with that. So there are kernels of truth to that. But there is a very anti-police mentality in this country today.
Mm-hmm.
But here we go. 60%... No, I'm sorry. That was the other one. 48% of people in the millennial generation, 18 to 29 years old, are saying that this is what we should be doing. That we should be empowering police and, ending the anti-police atmosphere.
Yep.
Anything to say on that at all?
It's... I mean, when it comes to the whole millennials and even some non-millennials too, like if you say Trump this, then no, I don't agree. But if you just say just the issue itself, they agree because hey, common sense, it's a thing. You know, it happens all the time. And even when it comes to the police and Black Lives Matter, like you said, I agree that there are issues and things can get better. being anti-police is not the way to go about it. A lot of things is retraining. I saw something posted online recently. I forget. I think it was Utah. The whole police, it might have been a different state, but the police were retrained with a lot of different techniques, and they haven't had to kill anyone in a long stretch of time. Things like spacing, using your tasers. So a guy was coming at a cop with a knife, and the body camera caught him doing this technique called spacing, where he's got the taser at him, and he's backing up, so he's creating distance, right? And then eventually, with the taser, takes him down, and the guy's like, I thought you were going to kill me. He's like, no, I'm not killing anybody today, things like that. So the retraining that we can do, but that is also embracing the police and the good police that are out there, you know? And even with drugs, I do think there are some things that need to kind of evolve.
I've become very libertarian on drugs.
Yeah.
I really have.
My whole family's Portuguese, right? And Portugal, as a country, it's 5-10 years ago, basically decriminalized drugs if you are caught with possession of a certain amount. If you're over a certain amount, it's a criminal. But I mean, if you are basically at a certain level, and
if you're like Tony Montana with a mountain,
a mountain of coke,
like a white face.
So basically, distributors and sellers and dealers, that's still a criminal offense.
Okay.
But if you're caught in possession, you're not charged with a crime. You're put into substance abuse programs. So basically, you're treated as a patient instead of a criminal.
And that's
the numbers are so far
from the prison. From prison funds to therapy funds, right?
Yep.
I actually saw stuff I don't know if it was Portugal or another country. It must have been that.
Yeah.
Because the statistics completely reversed.
Oh my god, it's so far down now. It was a family member of mine that had originally shared like a little video. I'll share it.
Yeah,
and tag
absolutely.
you
Put it on my page.
So it's I think that's a good idea, because these are people with a disease. Addiction is a disease, and so to treat them as a patient is a better idea than just throwing them in jail, because you're not going to go to jail for life for having like 6 ounces of pot or coke or whatever. So you're going to come out, you're still going to be addicted, you're still going to have the disease, you're going to do the same thing over again. Treating the dealers and distributors as criminals makes the most sense, so there's a lot that we can do moving forward, I think, when it comes to that. So
I mean, don't get me wrong, like when a lot of times I can tell the people that are on drugs. Like I understand marijuana doesn't do too much to you, but when you sound like Bill and Ted, throughout the whole day, it's like
I have a friend who's a teacher, high school teacher, and she actually she's our age.
You're like slowing down. I shouldn't talk anymore.
Yeah,
she might be watching.
No, it's not that. She's actually conservative.
Okay.
Her husband's liberal, but she's
do?
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, they're great. I love them. But she had said that she's still against the legalization of marijuana, strictly because she sees what it does to the kids in her class, just as far as the increase in laziness and decrease in effort and your studies and everything like
Except
that.
For lunch.
Yeah, right. Except for lunch. Yeah. So maybe at least until a certain age, after high school age, like 21. If you've got to be 21 to drink, then if it's ever legalized, there should be an age limit. But that kind of, because I was always like, whatever. I've never smoked a thing in my life, honestly. But I've gotten to the point where you see people dying all the time from drunk drivers. If drinking is legal and smoking is legal, which is slowly killing yourself if you're smoking cigarettes, then pot I don't think is even as bad as that. It's just the mental thing it does to you. But she opened my eyes in that respect as far as kids and what it does to them with their studies and being growing up to be responsible adults. So who knows where we're going to go with all that stuff. But.
Absolutely. Okay, so back to the pimples.
Yep.
Millennials, I'm sorry. Yeah. Fewer millennials supported Trump's plans to repeal and replace Obamacare, institute a temporary ban on refugees, and issuing new visas from 6 predominantly Muslim countries and a border wall. So there are things that they, even without his name associated with, still disagree with.
Okay, so even though we disagree, they actually do have some principles. some things that they...
I would argue against that.
Yeah. Maybe I'm not wording it right.
And I've said this multiple times in other podcasts, but the reason why you see a harder fall for Republicans or conservatives that trip up on themselves and do something bad than someone like Bill Clinton, who's fornicating and whatnot in the office. Yeah. Someone other than his wife.
Yeah.
You know, is that we tout these principles and morals. Mm-hmm. So when you get caught doing the opposite of those, you're a hypocrite, and you have that much further to fall. You know, but someone like Bill Clinton could say, "Oh well, you know, I never said that marriage is like a, you know, great thing, a sacred thing, or anything." You know, it's like they don't tout principles or morals.
Yeah,
their mantra as a people, and this isn't to like bash them. It's not. It's just they don't tout those things because their mantra as a party is helping people. Okay, so that's where they come across. So it would be hard to be a hypocrite on that because you're just not doing something at the time. Well, I donate now and then, and I go out into a soup kitchen. Yeah, but you're not working it all the time. Well, you know, you can't catch them on that.
Yeah.
Because helping people and whatever, like that's. But there's nothing behind that, you know. So I always see that as a falling point, but that's off topic. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. It also, the poll shows that millennials are disappointed with how the media has covered the president's tenure, so they agree that the media is a problem. Only 10% of respondents gave the mainstream media an A grade of its coverage of Trump's first 100 days. More than a quarter, 26%, give the media an F. So there's some light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What's crazy to me, and you brought up MSNBC earlier, is that they're number one in television right now. You know, Fox was always number one. Yeah. But with the O'Reilly situation, Roger Ailes,
it's just been black eye after black eye.
And you know what? They deserve it. They really do.
Yep.
I don't know if the Bill O'Reilly stuff is true or not. The same thing is happening to Hannity right now, and it happens to be Media Matters and the Bonner Group that are going after advertisers, especially in foreign countries where Fox airs, that don't have affiliate or don't have their ads shown over in the United States.
Yep.
And they go after those ads and they say, "We're going to run a campaign against you to tell people not to buy from you if you continue supporting your ads on Fox's show during Hannity or O'Reilly." And that's exactly what happened to Bill O'Reilly. Is he guilty of the sexual harassment and stuff? No details have come to light on that. As a matter of fact, the only one from Kirsten Powers was stupid.
Yeah.
You know, nothing happened there. And he said something about the Fox women or people that they bring on looking good. And she went to Roger Ailes and said that was sexual harassment. Give me a freaking break. This goes back to that mentality that everything offends and triggers people. You know, like, it's such a disconnect. It really is. You know, I rarely get called attractive. But when I do, I take it as a freaking compliment, for crying out loud. He didn't say anything like, oh, come wiggle over here or anything like that. Like, oh, so... I'm sorry. Another ADD moments here and there. They're going to come and go. But you know what? When we were growing up, okay, we're going to get to this with the next topic too, about why millennials are dating older men. What do women always say as you're growing up? Oh, these guys are only in it to chase tail. I want a guy that opens the door for me. I want a guy that compliments me and everything. Well, the second you do it, it's sexual harassment. So now you're pushing that even further away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's the script has been completely flipped on this, you know? And like I said, I can understand if they're getting like, oh, you know, do this or do that and shake it around and whatnot. Like, that's disgusting. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, that's not being a man. That's being a boy, you know? But... this kind of stuff, like, oh, well, Fox has attractive women, like, thanks for coming on, you know?
Yeah.
You know? But now, that guy's show on MSNBC is number one. Rachel Maddow. Is number one
I hate her so much.
Well, and then right after that, the other girl show on the network, Chris Hayes.
Oh, yeah. It's ridiculous.
So,
I mean, her show... the actual Rachel Maddow, just so we're clear. Her show is just... she has an agenda. She's pushing it. And it's all... nothing is based in fact.
No.
I was watching it the other day, and the whole thing was like, so we're hearing that maybe and if this were true, and if this were true, by the time you get to like the 7th, and if this were true, you're already like going down this whisper down the alley scenario where like, Trump. Where it's like, okay, the farther you go, the less likely this is even close to being true. But yet she's putting it out there as news.
Yeah.
And then people that are watching it are like, that's what's happening. That's the reality of the situation. It's
one of your favorite parts from the other podcast that we did was us talking in our NPR voices and everything. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with MSNBC. They think that if you look concerned and you look at the camera and you talk in a concerning voice, and if this is true, well, we're in a lot of trouble here. And I just can't believe that our country is coming to this. And I fear for the future. I really do. Yeah. And it's like, shut up.
Yeah.
Report the freaking news. You want to commentate on why something's wrong? Then do it. But don't get into this this false narrative stuff where you're implying that something may be happening and commentating on what could possibly be and blowing up a story that isn't there.
Yep. Then that's all I ever see on her show is what she's doing.
Yeah.
Looking right into the camera with the most punchable smirk you've ever seen.
Oh, she is the smarmiest person out there.
Yeah, like I'm so like this elitist, like just like and that's all she does is just perpetuate.
She's so condescending
theories as truth. That's what she does. So it's I can't stand her show. And there's right wing shows that are it's the same thing. They're doing the same exact thing.
I don't watch Fox.
Yeah, I get most of my news honestly.
I get the
from
clips of Tucker Carlson.
That's about it. Because his clips are like on YouTube all the time, just arguing.
I have to say about Tucker Carlson too, as great as those clips are. Mm-hmm. When the opposition starts talking and he starts laughing, it gets under my skin. I'm like, come on, like you could say a smart remark and really catch him off guard and throw him off the balance.
And he does that a lot of times.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But when you start laughing, like the people of opposition that are agreeing with that guy that you might be able to throw off the balance beam too when you knock his argument off are they defensive wall.
Yep.
Because look at this jackhole laughing over here on this side of the screen. I don't even want to watch it anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I honestly get most of my news now from YouTube. Yeah. Just commentators talking about stuff. I even watch, as much as I disagree with them on just about everything. Like if there's certain news things that are going on and I just want to see the other side's take, I'll like put on a Young Turks video and just kind of see what they have to say about certain things. Most times I am like, but I will give them some credit during the election and the campaigns of really ripping Hillary.
Really?
Yeah. Especially Jimmy Dore. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's a comedian, but he has a show, and he's kind of split off into his own show.
Okay.
And he's like he's super liberal. That's obvious. But he hated Hillary, and I could have swore like he put out some videos beforehand about like you think you're anti-war and you think you're going to vote for Hillary Clinton and you're anti-big government and anti all this stuff and you're going to vote for Hillary Clinton. She's like the poster child for all of this stuff, which she was. So there's some truth there, but. A lot of times too, like my dad's even said too, he watches more CNN than Fox News, not because he likes it, but because he likes to see what the enemy is saying. Yeah, that's what he always said.
What I was going to bring up is actually about CNN. I'm glad that you went there because say hi to your wife, by the way. She just tuned in.
Hey Tracy, how's it going? Don't watch the beginning about New Jersey.
The White House Correspondents' Dinner that they had, which was great that Trump didn't even show up.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And just did his own thing here in Harrisburg.
Harrisburg, yep.
My
brother wished he went so bad. He lives pretty close to that.
Oh, really? Like, I wish I would have gone. Is that comedian, I believe he's from The Daily Show or something.
Yeah, Hassan something.
Yes, and he did a fantastic job of ripping across the aisles.
Yeah. Yep.
And one of the things he said was, calm down, CNN. Not everything is a breaking story, breaking news. It's always, no matter what, breaking news at the bottom, breaking news. And it's like, at some point, like, what is breaking news?
Yeah.
You know, what's a big story anymore? You don't know because everything is breaking news, you know? So, yeah, they're very guilty of that, you know? And if you have the opportunity to go back and actually watch that, his part in that correspondence dinner, I thought he was brilliant. And the things he said about Fox was spot on.
Yeah, he was funny.
Yeah, it was funny across the board. And that's the way that stuff should be.
Yep.
You know? And, you know, we've taken the opportunity, we're going to bust on Bill Nye again tonight because he just continues to make the news.
Yep.
We've done Bill Nye, we've done Stephen Colbert a couple times. And the fact of the matter is, you know, I subscribe to some things on YouTube. And one of my stories this week was almost going to be that Jimmy Fallon responded to a question in an interview about why he doesn't rip on Trump as much as
I read his whole interview.
Colbert.
I read the whole interview.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's like, I'm here for comedy. I'm here to entertain people.
Yep.
And the reason why Colbert rips into Trump all the time is because he was doing bad in the ratings. And the second he started doing that, his ratings shot up. And now he's over Jimmy Fallon. And I don't know how the hell that's possible.
Yep.
Because Jimmy Fallon is a genius.
Yep.
You know, he is. He's a great person. He has so much fun in his show. And he does, like, funny things
Games,
on the show all the time.
the rap battles or whatever, the karaoke battles.
My favorite
or
is that weekly hashtag.
Yeah.
Hashtag. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
The Tonight Show hashtag.
Oh, yeah. When he reads the tweets that people, that he gives one out and then reads tweets. Yeah.
So he interacts with the people.
Yeah.
The phone booth question things where you have to pack people in every time you get a question wrong.
Like, did you see the one with The Rock?
Yes.
The Rock got one right or wrong, and like a child genius went into his.
And he's helping him out.
And then Jimmy Fallon got one wrong, and Big Joe, 7 foot tall, 500-pound Big Joe, goes into his.
Or what's in my box?
Yeah.
Like, he has
those
the
are
best
funny
stuff.
Yeah.
You know? How he's... Look, again, and we've had this conversation before too. These things keep on coming up. When we were hanging out with my liberal friend, and you have the left that has this mentality of, or had the mentality of, hate's bad, love. It's always love, 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 love. Get rid of hate and everything.
Yep.
Well, Colbert is succeeding because he's pushing hate.
Yeah.
Of Trump. And what I was going to say is when I'm on YouTube, when my subscriptions show up and what's trending and everything, every Colbert video that's up or Seth
Meyers, a closer look. I hate those.
Oliver North or Oliver.
The guy on the HBO show.
HBO. Yeah. And sometimes Kimmel, but not that often.
Yeah.
I will give Kimmel
the whole
credit.
Kimmel thing kind of went into high gear when everything happened with his son, and then he kind of politicized it. Which, I mean, that was... I like Jimmy Kimmel. Like, I've liked a lot of his shows and the comedy when he's not really political and everything. And, you know, if that's what he's informed on and something that he's passionate about, and I agree when everything happened with his son, you know, but, you know, he kind of then, even after that initial episode, then kind of ran with it, and then I think, like, okay, now you're using your son's, you know, condition to push a political agenda, and that's kind of, you know.
Well, my point is, between Stephen Colbert especially, Seth Meyers, the Oliver guy, John Oliver,
yeah,
on HBO, every trending video that's on YouTube or suggestion to me is them talking about and bashing Trump.
Yeah, it's like they
live and swim in hate.
Yep.
You know, which is what the left has been pushing against for years.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's becoming a problem with YouTube too. Apparently, a lot of conservative websites they're not showing up in people's subscriptions, even if you subscribe to them. You gotta make sure you hit that bell, you know, so that you're notified when a video shows up. Hint. Because the stuff's not coming up. They're getting demonetized more. But man, you look at trending videos, and it's every single night the Seth Meyers clip, a closer look, the John Oliver clip, and it's just being shoved down your throats.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's crazy.
Okay, so we're still on Millennials here. We might have to go a little faster because we've actually been ripping things.
You got 3 hours on KLRN?
Yeah, so when do we start? 9:30?
Yeah.
So we're only an hour in. Okay. Okay, an article that was posted. By the way, if my face shows up red right now, I was out on my new job. I'm working on roofs, and I'm out in the sun, and I just drove 3 hours home from New Jersey, Jersey, and 3 hours out here, and then literally just set up everything here for you to come out for the podcast. So that's why, God bless him, he brought me a Dunkin' Donuts coffee. So I'm sunburned. It's hot out here, and I'm drinking coffee just to stay awake for you guys. And I love you. Yeah. So subscribe and like and share
and hit the bell.
Yeah, hit that bell. So sticking with millennials here, an article. I love this. An article posted on intellectualtakeout.org posted an article titled "Why Millennial Women Want to Date Older Men." And we don't really have to talk about it too much, but there are some great things that were actually written in here. And so let's get into this. So the recent Vanity Fair article detailing the more lurid underbelly of online dating, the barrage of dick pics, the endless swiping, the death of romance, was grim if not horrific. Dating, Vanity Fair would have you believe, is evolving into an elaborate charade of deception. Everyone is petrified of giving someone the wrong idea. Men are impolite to the point of viciousness to ensure that women they just hooked up with understand they don't want a relationship. Women self-objectify in profile pictures to get men interested, renouncing the wrong idea that they might want something more than a one-night stand. No matter which way you spin it, landing yourself in a committed relationship seems to be, by millennial standards, the wrong idea. Okay, there's more here that we're going to get into that she wrote. But let's just go over this. Tinder. Okay? I've said it before. Thank God I am not in the dating game in this day and age. Yeah. Because, Tinder is disgusting. The people that use it, I'm sorry. I know some of them. And I think it's a disgusting thing. Yeah. That's all it is to hook up. And, it's proven statistically the spread of STDs, the majority happened in the free love of the 60s and early 70s, okay? Mm-hmm. When people were just like, oh, free love, man, have my body, And it's like, it just took off. So what have we done? We've digitalized it. Yep. Swipe with me and let's just pound away. You know what I mean? That's what it's become. Yeah. And this whole thing about dick pics, and we were literally just talking about this today. I wouldn't send... Okay, let's just say, even in my relationship with my wife, I would never send her one if she asked for it. Yeah. You know what I mean? What goes through your head that you think this is something like a shrine? Look at this art. You know what I mean? Like our pineapple. Oh, look at this. Yeah. I can see it right down there. It looks so strong. But it's disgusting that you do this. But then these people why are we having these problems? Why are we having these problems where people can't even get into a real committed relationship when there's things like Tinder out there, that's pushing this free love, just hook up with me type mentality, which is going to lead to another boom in the STDs. It's going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's statistically, it's happening. Yeah. It's just going to eventually come out statistically that it is happening. I've said it before too. I know people that have been in the position, or know someone who has been in the position because of Tinder, that have swiped right or left or whichever direction. Yeah, I don't personally know. And went out and started to hook up with what they thought was a woman. Oh, geez. And could have received a dick pic. Oh, God. I mean, you know what I mean?
And then did they get offended when you found out that they were? That's a whole nother story.
Oh, my gosh. And we talked, I think we talked about that last time. But it's and it's become this environment that I don't want to be in. You know what I mean? And we have. It's so easy. It's easy yet it's not to cheat on someone. I think I've never cheated on anyone, but it's I think a comedian talked about at one point in time was what it was at one point in time. It's actually kind of funny. Back in the 60s or something like that, if you wanted to disappear and leave your whole family. You could literally move to the next town.
Yeah, 8 miles away. And, then you'd be...
and set up a whole new life, and no one would know.
Yeah.
But nowadays, with social media and everything, like, you're a click away from someone. Like, that Facebook box, when the picture comes up, it knows who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, this is you. You know?
Yep.
You go to tag someone. Like, you can't escape.
Who's that other family you're with, honey?
Yeah.
In this picture.
But it's like I don't understand. I understand how easy it is to cheat. That's what I'm trying to say. It's easier to cheat, but I would think it would be harder to get away with now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it just boggles my mind because there's so many complexities to that. Like, why?
Yeah.
You know? And
the whole Tinder thing too. I mean, it's not even like online dating like Match or eHarmony where you have a picture, but then you have a profile, likes, dislikes, what you're looking for, you know, your values and whatever. And then you decide if you want to reach out to someone. It's literally objectifying a person. Here's a picture, yes or no. You know, it's like...
And that's exactly what this is saying here. Yeah. And you know, it's... I can't believe I'm saying this. But it's kind of like... I'm a fan of the chive. Okay, and it's when I say that, I almost give the Playboy clause. Yeah. I go there for the articles, I think, but it's the memes. They put together the best memes during like every day, like the daily awesome, the daily awesome afternoon randomness or morning randomness and stuff, and it's like funny stuff. So some of the stuff I post is directly from it, you know. But they have chicks on it too. You know, but. You know, this Tinder is the evolution of Hot or Not when we were.
Oh yeah, yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Except that was just rating.
There's a new thing now too on it's like Smash or Pass or something like that. Have you heard of that?
No.
Yeah, because and the funny thing that I've seen is like let's say there's a female YouTuber like Jenna Marbles or something like that. She put out a video of her reacting to people doing the Smash or Pass of her. And those videos are pretty funny. And I've seen there was another one
She's
too.
Hilarious.
Yeah, and there's like some gamer chick too, SS Sniper Wolf or something like that.
No.
And she did one too, and it's pretty funny because they're like when someone's like, yeah, Smash, they're like, oh god, but then when someone's like Pass, it's like, what the hell? It's pretty funny.
How dare you?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, you talked about the objectifying, which is what they talked about in here. Is like women self-objectify is what they said, and the fact of the matter is,
the men too sometimes technically, but but
how easy is that to fall into?
They just
First of all, I know way too many guys that have like this mentality that shirts don't exist. You know what I mean? Like, put a shirt on. I don't care how cut you are. Put a freaking shirt on. You know what I mean? If I was perfect, I would still be wearing a shirt. You know? It's you're a dumbass. I'm sorry. That's all there is to it. If you walk around without a shirt on all the time, don't come to my house. That's for sure. So here's more of what she had to say, and this is some good, insightful stuff actually. She said, more and more women I know are dating men twice their age. In her new film, The Intern, Anne Hathaway stands with Robert De Niro and a bunch of young male colleagues in a bar and draws a harsh comparison. How in one generation have men gone from guys like Jack Nicholson and Harrison Ford, good last name, to, and she gestures despairingly at the four men in front of her, archetypes of my generation in their hoodies, craft beer in one hand, iPhone in the other, with their untrimmed beards and general lack of ambition. I see what Anne Hathaway means. Why put up with Tinder when there's a whole generation of men out there who wouldn't dream of using it? You know? It's like, put down the phone. Look at me and not the picture of me. And everything, right. You know? And it's a great point. It is a great point, you know? And I would say both sides are guilty of it, too. Because it's hard to find a good woman out there, too, now.
Yeah.
You know?
Not that we're looking. Not that we're looking.
No.
But I would.
But I see. Look, I have a couple friends. That we're in our mid-30s now. You know, graduated with, and you know, I don't know if it's them not having looking in all the wrong places, not being able to step up to someone and put themselves on the line, which was a problem I had when I was younger, until I hung out with some shady people and was shady for a little while, and then used the best of both worlds, basically. Or is it that they're just getting shot down by women that just want to hook up, or aren't looking for relationships? Because there's also the mentality out there right now, and not that there's anything wrong with this, but there's this mentality of women who want to be successful before starting a family, or just successful and never starting a family. We've taken that away from like the mentality that was always long-standing, that the who the breadwinner is. So it's a pretty interesting thing. So she also said, my friend Gabrielle met her boyfriend at a restaurant opening. They are 20 years apart, and they've been together for 2. He treats me like I'm a person, she told her. I watch so many of my other friends agonize over text messages from guys who just clearly don't care. The stereotypes, she says, are true. Older men are attentive. They aren't threatened by your career success. They didn't grow up watching porn on their laptops, and they certainly don't expect sex from you before you've even had a chance to meet. It's not an old-fashioned dating scheme. It's just a more humane one. I wasn't trying to go back in time, Gabrielle added at the end of their conversation. Nobody wants to go back to the 1950s. We just want to be treated with respect. Mm-hmm. And that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
And I think I take it a step further. This generation of millennials has emasculated men.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? It's bad to be masculine. Mm-hmm. Okay? Feminized them. Mm-hmm. Like, they all say you're looking for a guy that cries with, like, certain things all the time and then shows his emotions and everything. I'm going to disagree with that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that society has gender roles for people and standards for why we are different.
Yep.
Like, if there's a sad situation, typically a girl that has emotional characteristics is looking for a stronger shoulder to cry on that's going to be supportive for her. Not one that's sobbing along and sharing tissues with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we've done this to a society where, guys with muscles or that do hard labor are looked at in a demeaning way compared to someone wearing skinny jeans and a scarf in the middle of summer with a beanie on.
Yeah.
And on a laptop in Starbucks doing a blog entry or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It boggles my mind. And I think this is what this is saying. There's a specific difference between this younger generation and the way that boys are portrayed. Because you also have these boys that don't consider themselves to be men until they hit 30. And it's the same with females of this generation, too. They don't consider themselves adults until they hit 30. Mm-hmm. We had George Washington out in the woods at 13, like, backpacking across, hunting his own food, and, like, going on adventures, I guess you could say. Whatever, out into the woods and forging his own path,
creating a nation.
Yeah, I mean, it's true in the very literal sense.
Yep.
And it's amazing that we've gotten to this point in so quick of a time.
Have you seen videos online of male feminists?
I think I feel like I see them all the time.
There isn't a more pathetic thing in the world.
I bet
there isn't than male feminists. I just is like, what are you doing?
I'm starting to see meninists.
Oh my god!
Like guys that are like proud to be men and whatnot. Yeah. And I think that's kind of funny. Rip on it. But yeah, it's just it's a sad look at our culture and where we're going. Because what I was trying to say is, you have these boys that have become the product of this PC culture and this confused, chaotic state of our culture, where you don't know how to properly act because so many things are wrong. And the second that you get something right, then the next day that's considered wrong.
Yep.
It's the whole pronoun game with genders, that there's 93 genders right now, or something like that.
Are we gonna bring up Zerzat again?
Zerzat. Zerzan.
It's
like, but you know that has caused a confusion. Look, when it comes to transgender stuff, I think we said it before. I can go along with you as a female feeling like you're a male, or a male that you're a female, or you're a male and you feel like you're a male and a female. But considering there's only two genders that you should be picking from.
Yeah.
There's 93 other possibilities now or something.
Yep.
And it's like, how do we function as a society moving forward when you're walking on eggshells all the time? And that's what the men in our society have become, because the feminist movement has become a man-hating movement, not an equalization movement.
One of the things that I love that Milo has said many times before is that you know, there's such a small percentage, or a large percentage of women believe in equality, but a small percentage of women identify themselves as feminists.
Yes.
Because they don't buy into the whole what feminism has turned into. Yeah. It's not about equality anymore. It's about hating men and you know, trying to be above and better than, and men are evil, and so that's why so few women. And that's probably why a lot of women are trying to date older men who kind of are outside of this whole
this bubble
that everybody's in. Yeah. And I kind of wonder about the older guys though. Why are they single still? And why are they trying to date? Like, I see why women. Well, yeah, I know. That's my point though. It's obvious.
But I wouldn't disparage a cougar.
Yeah.
A younger guy. I understand what the allure is.
Yeah.
You still have that spunk. You still have this this energy to you. This this more passion. You have you're not sagging in all the wrong places.
But that's what I'm saying though. Like, okay, the girl is going home saying, "Oh man, it's so nice to be with a man who treats me with respect and isn't always looking at his phone and you know, acts like a man." But the man is going home saying, "Man, 4 more dates and I'm about to with a sweet 20-year-old." You know, so it's like, what's going on here?
Yeah,
so,
it's weird. I see both ways. I do. I think that we can identify with the problem here is though it's the millennial generation and their mentality towards things. You know,
the demanization of
pussification, as Rush Limbaugh says.
Yeah. It's like I said in what should be the new tagline of our show: "Man up, you pansies."
Oh man! So speaking of women,
apparently it's wrong to say "man up" now.
Here is an example of how women aren't supposed to act.
Talk to me at the store. I need to know following me.
What's going on?
Please make sure they don't get any closer.
They won't. I told them that they need to leave.
They have Confederate flags hanging in their store, and I brought it up to them, and they started pulling me around and calling me a bitch and saying they're. And then I was driving in the car, and they came out. There was 3 of them, and they were following me into the park.
So here, okay, let me set this up for you, first of all, because that was a part of the video. I will fully admit it. The video starts off with this woman in the store coming back into the store.
Okay.
With her cell phone video rolling. She has a kid strapped to her back, and I guess she was pulling along another kid. And what happened was this woman was in the store, and it's kind of like, you know, when we were teenagers and you went into Walmart or whatever, and you had the poster displays that you would kind of flip through them.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you move them. I think they still have them.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was a display like that coming out with rugs hanging.
Yeah. Okay? When you go to a rug store, you pull them out and you can see all the different rugs.
So she's flipping through these, and there is a Confederate flag rug. Okay? And she asked why they have this on display, because it's a symbol of racism and slavery and all these other things. not going to disagree with her there.
Yep.
Okay.
I agree.
I do not like the Confederate flag.
I have my I'm glad you said that too. I have my own thoughts on the Confederate flag, which I'll go into afterwards.
And then, so what she does is there must have been some sort of confrontation before the cell phone video started going, because the very initial start of this is her walking into the store and videoing her yelling at the employees. What I'm going to say is, if you look up this video, you will see that the two male employees are jerks, okay? But I believe that they were driven to that point based on an interaction with this woman prior to the starting of this video. They tell her to F off. They call her a bitch. They tell her to get out of the store if you're so offended and everything. And, you know, what happens is she's saying, like, yelling at them, how dare you have this Confederate flag? Well, there's a bunch of people in the store. And they're like, get your kids out of here. Now, they shouldn't have been cursing to her. Or especially in front of the kids. That's my professional opinion.
And we've worked in retail. And we've wanted to say this stuff to customers a million times. But
So she goes in, she's filming this interaction, and she eventually leaves because they tell her to leave. Obviously, their opinions on both sides are not changing. She goes out into the parking lot, she's walking away, and she starts filming herself and reacting to what's going on. Still level-headed emotionally, I will say. I think her argument is stupid, okay? Because free speech applies to what you can buy and everything, too, okay? I may not like it. You and I may not like what it is and what it stands for, but there are people that somehow believe that it stands for something else. And if that's what they want, and that's what they feel it stands for, and they want to buy it, that's a free market. So she's going off about this, and one of the employees walks out into the parking lot, not approaching her. He's standing there, and I believe... listen, I think I've been in this situation with the retail with you before, where we've had crazy customers, and you walk outside wondering what's going on, like what are they doing, you know? Because these people are unstable.
You don't know who's going to drive a car through your store. You don't know who's going to walk back into the store with a gun shooting everybody. You don't know what's going on.
So I'm sure what happened was he walked out to see what was going on with this woman. She starts filming him with the video, the cell phone, and she says to him, and this is immature on his part, but it's something I would totally do. She's like 50 feet away from him, and she goes, don't you take another step further. And he took one step. Stop. You know what I mean? Well, this causes the emotional breakdown that you guys eventually saw. And now... she's screaming at the guy, don't you come over here? And she starts screaming at him that you assaulted me. They didn't assault her. They cursed her out. You said this. And in the meantime, a customer happens to be crossing the paths in between them. It's a woman. And she's like, what's going on? And she's like, you stay right there, to the guy, and comes over to the woman. And this is, listen, first of all, she's videoing this. Okay? That sends up a clear red flag to me.
It's an act.
That this is an act. Or a statement.
Yep.
Okay? Which is the same thing in this case. The next thing is, as this woman approaches from the cell phone video going this way, she flips it to coming this way for her own reaction on stuff. And that's when you start to see the emotional reaction where she starts breaking down, having like anxiety attacks on camera. Okay? And she puts the phone down, and the woman's like, what's going on? What happened? What did you do? They have Confederate flags in the store hanging up on the wall.
It's like filming.
They call me a bitch.
Filming the girl and action.
Oh God. And cue the tears. Go.
Yes. Scene. Nailed it.
That was emotional, Claire. Can you do it again? This time, put your face a little closer to the camera. We're only getting your sobbing, quivering chin. But like, it's so. This is horrible. This woman, now she has a baby. She could be our age. I'm not really sure. She looks older. But I'm not assuming. But I'm not saying that she looks like a Portland liberal. But she's a Portland liberal. So she's doing this whole act and everything. This is not the way adults act. No. Okay? So the employees obviously called her a bitch and cursed her out, which is obviously unjustified, like I said. What isn't shown is the original confrontation. Is her reaction justified? I say it depends on if this rug was actually made from the remains of a slave and crafted under slave labor. Then yes, I would definitely agree with her. Yeah. But that's not the case. Yeah. Okay? Again, I disagree with what this Confederate flag stands for and everything. But
yeah, I never got the allure of the Confederate flag to people. To me, especially when you consider that most of these people
losing flag.
Yeah,
good job.
Yeah, especially when a lot of most people, honestly, that have a Confederate flag tend to be Republican or more conservative, or
Yeah, but the crazy thing is those were Dixie Democrats that supported.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, back then, but now, like these are people I feel like that like hate liberals and all this stuff. But I could never have a flag that fought against the Stars and Stripes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Never in a million years. Yeah. So when people are like, take it down from state buildings, yes, I don't think it should be. I mean, it is.
I take a more libertarian, federalist approach where I say leave it to the state.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
If the state wants to vote on it to take it down, and the majority votes for it, then do it. If the majority wants to keep it, then whatever, keep it up.
Yeah, that's true.
I just disagree with what it stands for.
Yeah, I just think that the state should decide. I mean, that's my personal opinion too. But it's like it's hard to say anything about a Nazi flag. Yeah. It's still something that drew the blood of American soldiers, and it's the same thing with these were people that did not want to be part of America.
Yeah.
They wanted for a very specific reason. Yeah, exactly. And so they wanted to make their own country. They fought against the American flag, so I would never be able to support it. But this lady, what she was doing very blatantly, especially when you kind of describe what was going on before, and then she went back in videotaping.
Very deliberately.
She was making a concerted effort to demonize a business.
Yes.
To villainize a business so that she could put it online so that it would deter people from shopping at this store. For people that own it, that especially the kids that work there, they're stupid, but
they
they're
weren't
not
kids. They were adults.
Or adults. Yeah, whoever
adult
works
children
there.
In my
yeah,
life.
yeah. Well, I was an adult, and a lot of stuff that they said is stuff that
I regress.
Not anymore. Yeah. But no, what I mean to say is I was an adult and I worked at T-Mobile, and this was all stuff that I wanted to say to people all the time.
We at T-Mobile, we ran into some of the worst of society.
Any retail. I like retail in general. You work in a mall or whatever. I mean, you're dealing with, but anyway, this lady, she was making a concerted effort to demonize a business. Well, and that's what's happening. To go off of that point,
when she walked out of the store, she was like, I'm on this street and this street, and this is the business name. And she made sure to get the sign in the background. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. And that's what happens now so much. Like, if you say your opinion on something and some crazy SJW doesn't agree with it, they'll throw you up on, this person believes in this, they don't hire them, don't think, and it's crazy.
Where I'm going to disagree with you is the right does it to the left, too.
Oh, yeah.
This whole... it's something I've railed against in some of my original podcasts when I started up. Is I believe it's very wrong, and taking to the social media, especially Twitter and stuff like that, to publicly shame businesses or people into either firing a person or stopping a person from employment based on an opinion that you disagree with, even if it's the most horrible opinion out there. Like, if a person is saying, like, quoting from Mein Kampf or something like that, and, let them be. Like, they're not going to survive in the real world with things. But you are not the judge for that person's life.
Yeah.
And
you also don't know how that person's going to evolve over time, too. They might, everybody.
Well, you're pushing them further away from what your side actually is.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
for dang sure. Yeah.
Yep. But back to the flag real quick. One thing I've never understood. Have you ever seen like a pickup truck drive down that's got the American flag and the Confederate flag side by side waving? Like, what the hell is this person
I'm
thinking?
so confused. Yeah. I am confused.
Yeah, I don't know which side I believe in, so I'm just going to have both of them and it'll be great. I just don't get it.
Let my 6-inch pipes in the back distract you with the fuel coming out instead. Okay, so I said what we're dealing with here is a new wave of generation of adult babies that are triggered so hard by life events that they are on the verge of spontaneous emotional combustion.
Mm-hmm.
Like this stuff. Let's say it's not an act.
Yeah.
She needs help.
Yeah, oh yeah. If it's not, she's psychologically unstable.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I'm like 99% sure it's an act. Just the fact that she was totally composed, she went back, she turned the camera around. I mean, this was all, it was a deliberate attempt to villainize a business. That's all it was.
This is not the way an adult reacts.
No.
As a matter of fact, it reminds me of a video. I love it, too. It was shared a little while ago. Did you see the video where it's just a camera set up in the corner of a living room, and all these, like, kids, maybe, like, 3 to 6 years old, are standing along the edge of the living room, and there's, like, a slide in the living room, and there's, like, all this stuff. And the adults are throwing themselves down the slide, jumping on the couch, screaming and hitting each other and acting like kids. And the kids are standing there like, what is going on? And that's exactly what this reminds me of. Yeah. We have regressing adults that are acting like children to get attention.
Yeah.
That's all this is. It's attention whore.
Yeah. And it is just also, she had 2 kids, you know, this is just raising the next generation to be like, if I don't get my way, I'm just going to throw a tantrum.
Yep.
Like it's creating the next generation of pansies.
How can people like us, responsibly adult, looking at our kids saying you cannot get what you want by throwing a tantrum, you have to do this, okay? Because if you throw a tantrum, you're sitting on the stairs, or whatever, right?
Yep.
And then we go and bring them out to stores, and there's these adults acting like that. How are we supposed to be responsible parents and show them the examples?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is horrible.
Yeah.
And I really feel bad for this next generation of kids that are coming up under these adult babies.
Oh my god, it's crazy.
I don't even want to. Let's focus on the ridiculousness of today.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh.
It's
the one thing though that I've kind of seen, and I don't know how true these statistics are, but apparently a lot of things are pointing towards the generation after millennials are kind of going back towards the right, and it kind of makes sense in a way that you rebel against your parents, right?
Yep.
So if that's why things always kind of swing back and forth.
Bill.
And I do think that there are more and more people that see the ridiculousness of the one side and are kind of just like, this is nuts, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I think
fingers crossed.
Yeah, statistics are proving that a lot of these this new generation is anti-abortion and pro-marriage, and even there seems to be new trends into homeschooling. A lot more people are turning to homeschooling because both the right and the left realize the ridiculousness of Common Core and the social constructs of what's going on in the schools. Okay, the state standardized testing and everything. We're pumping out cookie cutter students that all do the same thing and are the cookie cutter itself is broken.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think there's even a trend towards women staying at home. Them seeing a value in that.
Yep.
And it makes sense too. You know, I'm not disparaging any women that decide to work instead.
Yeah, no, not at all.
But look at our generation, okay? You know, it started happening slightly before we were born that women were going to work and everything. Actually, the 80s was a big time for women going to work. But what happened? Who took over the parenting when we were kids? The TV.
Yeah.
You know? That's why you and I are such nerds when it comes to like all this other stuff, like video games and movies and all this other stuff, because we have that connection. You know, when we grew up, those, you know, the parenting wasn't really there. I mean, not for me specifically.
Yeah,
my mom
neither.
was home.
Yep.
So I had that, but I also happened to just be attached to the TV anyway.
Yeah, my parents both worked, but when by the time school was over, one of them, my mom mostly was home. And even in the summers, we didn't do like babysitters or daycare. We were with my grandparents.
Oh, okay.
So it was always kind of still a familial kind of thing. And thank God too, because since I was the first one born here in the States, my parents spoke English, but my grandparents primarily spoke Portuguese. So since I spent so much time with them, that's how I grew up learning both languages pretty much at the same time.
Are you fluent in Portuguese?
Yep.
Okay.
That my parents even sent my brother and I to school. It sucked at the time, but now I'm so glad they did, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursday nights for 4 grades to learn to read and write as well.
Wow.
Yeah,
cool.
So, and they're taking my Jackson to Portugal this summer for 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah, so it was...
Without
good.
you?
Yeah, because we weren't... My brother is going, but we kind of weren't able to like set up the vacation in time to be able to go. But my cousins are going too, or my kids' cousins, my nephews. They're right around Jackson's age, and Jackson was already kind of like, oh man. So my dad one day was like, we'll take Jackson. So I was like, yeah, go, because it's the first time I went, I was 6, I remember it. I remember, just the different culture and being there and everything. So I thought it was great.
Cool. It is definitely a cool experience.
Yeah, but it is kind of also, Tracy's kind of like, he's gonna be gone, and a plane ride and everything, So, but it's
this whole new mentality. I mean, look at when. There's another thing that has been talked about a lot recently is the fact that when we were kids, I mean, again, we're only in our 30s. People are like, well, what did you do as a kid? Well, I lived in the woods. Not deep in the woods or anything, but I would go out all day. My parents didn't know where I was. I was miles away, deep in the woods, or out on a 4-wheeler in farmers' fields and stuff going around. And I knew it was time to come home when the sun started going down, when I wasn't going to be able to see anymore.
Yeah.
And I would get home, and they weren't like, "Where were you?" We were so worried or anything. That was a mentality.
Yeah.
I have a hard time sending my daughter out to the mailbox.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, your mailbox is across the street.
Yeah.
That's scary.
That is really scary. And it's like, it's a complete mentality shift because of the 24-hour cycle of the media covering all these things. Statistically, it's dropped with kidnappings and bad things that happen. Statistically, that's gone down. But every time it does happen, it blows up in the media.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you think it's happening all the time.
All the time.
And there's someone just waiting outside for your kid. So, like, you say that is an awesome experience for your son to go and do, but that would terrify the living crap out of me. I don't know if I'd be able to function at work.
The fact that he's going with my parents and my brother and sister-in-law and their kids, so I know that he'll be fine. But it is.
He's not going alone.
Yeah. I'm just gonna put him on a plane. Yeah, just go, have fun. But it is. I always thought it was crazy when I saw those parents that have like the kids with the backpack with the leash. But I will say, like, in giant crowds, I've been like, man, I wish I had one of those backpacks. Just to keep them like close to me.
So what if it was like one of those backpacks with like the GoPro attraction that comes up and over and then just hanging in front of you?
Yeah.
I have my eye on you all the time.
Constantly.
We're just gonna make our way weave through the crowd. Well, tying this story with this crazy woman into our last story about millennials dating older and everything, like, if this is the way women are going to act of this generation too, like, I think we're going to start seeing boys that turn into men in their 30s start dating older women too.
Yeah.
Like, I think the millennial generation is going to fall apart with each other. I think it's going to fall apart because they just they can't get a grasp on reality. And that's I want to say it's not even their fault. I'll put that out there. I think that they've been raised by a generation of parents that buy into the chaos that's going on, and can't get a grip on reality themselves.
And also, it's the style of parenting that's changed too, where kids now get everything they want.
Yep.
I never had a pair of Jordans. I always wanted one. Never had a pair of Jordans. It took forever to get a Nintendo, Well, actually, I had a Nintendo pretty young, but there was tons of stuff that I wasn't able to get. And one time I was at a store with my mom. I was like, I wanted this is all I remember from her, probably because I got concussed and I don't remember it at all. But I wanted a Ninja Turtles coloring book, and my mom was like, no. And then I started throwing a fit in the store, and I got a backhand across the face. And she kind of freaked out because now we're like, oh, did somebody see that?
Yeah.
Is somebody going to take my kid away?
They're good
but
at
the
it.
old lady behind her actually said, good job. That's good. And, I got hit. I got the belt.
Yep.
I got, there was one time where my brother and I were really bad one time out at a restaurant, and the whole time we're getting the death stare from parents, and we're not. And again, also I have old school parents because they were born abroad and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we just kept acting up, making a scene at the restaurant and everything, and then the whole car ride was quiet on the way home. And then I knew that we were in for it, so I start to be like, oh, my little brother, hey, look at our science project I just made. This is a whale. I remember it. It was like an ocean. In comes Dad with the belt, shuts the door, shuts the blinds. When the blinds shut, it's game over.
Then you started putting a plastic sheet up.
Yeah. And then my brother and I had different techniques of dealing with this. He would be the one running around all over the place. I would just curl up in a ball. And because he was being more evasive, I felt like
I think he's watching.
I felt like Dad had to spend more time on him. But never once did I ever feel abused or that I had bad parents or that everything. Because anytime that ever happened, I deserved it.
Yep,
big time. And not only that, every time afterwards we talked. And a lot of times too, like, my parents didn't like doing that stuff.
Yeah,
but now it's like
we're parents. We know.
Yeah, no, not at all. And but if you would say, like, if I was like a terrible, and they would say like go to timeout, I would be like, okay, whatever. Yeah. And now kids go to timeout or go to their room, and in their room they got computers and TVs and Game Boys and everything. So it's totally different. A totally different style of parenting. There is no fear. Parents now, I feel like, aren't saying to their kids what my parents told me. I'm your dad. I'm not your friend.
Yeah.
I'm your mom. I'm not. They're friends now as as adults.
Yeah.
But when we were kids, they were not our friends.
Yeah.
They were our parents. And
you put yourself out there. I'll put myself out
there.
Okay. For one of my worst experiences, and it's from my mom, who was the worst of the discipliner between her and my dad. My dad was the one to lay down the law. God bless my parents. Yeah, because I was one of those kids. You know what I mean? I don't even know what it was over. All I remember is being a young teenager, standing on the steps, looking up at my mom, being pissed off at her. She said something, and I spit in her face.
Oh.
If you've ever seen the new DSLR cameras that go in slow motion and slow everything down
1,000 frames per second.
Yeah. I saw the spit. It was halfway between the two of us when a hand started coming out. And I took it across the face like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
And I totally deserved it, And all these articles are being written now. I see them all the time. All my liberal friends post them. Psychiatrists say that hitting a child is emotional abuse and scars them for life. Bullcrap.
Yeah.
You know what? There's a fine line. I agree between abuse.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
there is the such thing as abuse.
Yeah. But. It's...
I never had marks, I never went to school with bruises or anything like that.
They didn't...
Yeah, I know. It was always where the clothes
are. And they do it where you can't see,
Yeah. And it's the way that we were, too, was my parents would always say that whoever watched us, like, if my parents trusted someone to watch us, then they trusted them to discipline us in any way necessary. So my grandparents, I mean... And we're talking older school Portuguese. So we're talking wooden spoons, sandals, shoes. I was running away from my grandmother once, and I just saw a sandal like right by my head. She couldn't catch me. And my one grandfather, he had more of a sting, whereas my other grandfather was a carpenter, and his hand was like a club.
Yeah.
But.
I ran from my dad one time. I thought, I'm younger. I can get away. I'm still like a younger teenager, right? And he starts chasing me down the yard. And I swear, the most horrifying moments I went through. And I'm laughing at him now. Because I totally deserved it.
Yeah.
I all remember it in slow motion. I remember running thinking, I am younger, more fit than this guy. He's an old man. And I remember looking back and seeing him. And it's like those movies with a wolf coming up on you. You're like, yeah, home. You're just like, and he tackled me and took me down. That's all I remember of it, too. It's the funniest memory.
I'll be honest. I'm still afraid of my dad. I'm going to be a 36-year-old. And if I disappoint him in a certain way, I'm still like...
I'm not saying anything that my dad doesn't already know, but the guy's short, okay? Yeah. My dad comes up to my chest on me, okay? I love him. There are only two people, or two entities that I am afraid of. My dad and God.
Yeah,
Those
right?
are the only... You could be... Listen, I'll tell you another funny story. Just to prove, how people do not scare me. I was drunk one time when I was in my early 20s, and I went out to a convenience store, and there was a bunch of hot dog rollers, right? 2 big cheese dogs on the thing, right? And I'm like stumbling around, waiting behind this guy. I didn't even come up to his shoulders, okay? And his arms at the top were like bowling balls, okay? Bald guy standing there, ripped, just filling his shirt, right? Yeah. I'm like, oh, man. I look back at my friend. I'm like, I want to get one of those hot dogs. Those look really good. The guy in front of me looks over. He goes, yeah. He goes, I'll have one of those hot dogs. I go like this, and I tap him. I'm like, it's a good thing you didn't get the other one, too, because I was eyeing that up. He goes, I'll take the other hot dog, too. I was like, you mother, and I started going after. I started going after this guy, and my friend grabbed me from behind. Colin, he actually watches this too. He grabbed me from behind. He's like, "Don't do it, man! Don't do it! You're drunk." No, he took my hot dog. Man!
But this goes back into that's why the kids now are turning into these millennials that are just if they don't get their way, they have a fit. And it's because parenting is totally different now. Oh, yeah. I've never hit my kids with anything, like with a belt or anything. But there have been a couple times where Jackson's been bad. I was like, Jackson, just so you know, when I was a kid, I got the belt, And he was doing this thing where I'd pack his lunch in the morning, and he'd come home. All the snacks were gone, but the sandwich was still there, and it was starting to drive me nuts. I'm like, Jackson, I got the belt when I was a kid, thing. I got a phone call from the school one day. Jackson's, we just got a call because, he's crying because school lunch is over and he didn't finish his sandwich. And he said Dad was going to hit him with the belt. and I'm like, I've never hit him with the belt. And the principal, I've talked to him before, and he's like, I know, but we just have to call. And I'm just like, this is how now schools are intervening into parenting. Mm-hmm. If you're too strict or whatever,
it's like I'm surprised he got away with it.
It's like I'm like, is child services going?
I was just going to say, I would be surprised.
I've never he never gotten the belt yet. He's still too young for that. But now it's like it is this fear of like I could have told my parents when I was a kid, I'm going to tell on you. Or one time my brother actually said, I'm running away. And my mom was like, there's the door. Go. Do whatever, Now it's like you have a real fear that someone's going to come like freaking take your kids away,
Yeah. So I didn't happen to see some of the people interacting here. It wasn't showing up on my thing. But Zara got involved. Just to go back before we get too far away from the topic.
Yep.
Zara was saying it's... okay, she was responding to... They were both responding to the woman in that video. She said, it's ridiculous foolishness. She's a fool. As a homeschool mom, I'd use that situation as an awesome learning tool. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. She said, I'm sorry, every time I see the Confederate flag, I think of the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, generally.
My wife said it's a treasonous and losing flag. I never understood either why people are so proud to fly it. Mm-hmm. And then Zara again said, pray for our country. So thank you guys for interacting there. That's awesome. So, yeah, we were just talking about that. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Bill Nye again.
Here he comes.
Bill Nye. Round
our favorite
3.
Round 3, yeah.
And the funniest thing is that these videos on Bill Nye are getting the most attention on my YouTube page and Stephen Colbert. So I effing love science. Do you follow that page?
I've seen it, yeah.
I follow it because we're nerdy. right? And there's just some technology things, advances in medicine, even though they are anti-vaxxers and stuff like that. I don't know how you feel. I don't even want to go into it right now. But it's
I think I'm with you.
Okay.
Like, Jesus Christ. Man. Like,
so
I mean, no. Let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
I mean, I kind of had that whole. I've watched some videos on how the measles is like making a comeback.
Yep.
Where of all places, West Coast, baby.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know why? There's a certain inflood of people coming from countries where they don't, you know, control their stuff.
Yeah, and it's happening in a community where people are brainwashed to think that they shouldn't vaccinate their kids. So now it's like measles are like happening in schools, and school nurses are like,
so you
why?
don't agree with me.
Oh, why? Oh,
I am anti-vaccine.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
man, I okay.
Well, here's the thing, and I'll tell you exactly why. The anti-vaccination argument is that it always comes down to autism, right? Oh, these stupid people, they believe that all these things causes autism. I could have, my wife especially, could have a conversation with you all day without even bringing autism up, okay? Yeah. And it's actually one of the things I wanted to do on the Man on the Street thing, and I think you would find this fascinating, which is I wanted to take generic pills, like 3, okay? And without being able to tell what they are, like scratch off the letter or something on them, and put them in the little baggies, and go up to people on the street and say, listen, got a couple questions for you. I see that you have kids with you here, okay? Here's what I want to do. This drug right here, okay, I'm not going to tell you what it is or what it does right now, but this is made from all these substances and things that they put into this, okay? It's doctors recommend it for a certain thing, but just so you know, here's the list of side effects. Are you willing to take that chance on your kid by giving them this? Okay? Yes or no. Go on to the next one. And we could do that with all 3 of these things. And there's more than that, right? Yep. Keep it simple. And then you go back and say, okay, so this is not really a pill. It's a for a vaccination. This is actually this vaccination. And, you know, you weighed all these possible side effects with this what could possibly happen. Now, your wife is a nurse. I completely understand where you're coming from with that, because nurses typically have that stance and everything. But at the same time, I know a lot of nurses that are anti-vaxxers too. Very interesting. I can't even get into a discussion on what they do in hospitals to avoid vaccinations themselves that they're supposed to take, because it would give away something that I think they should have the freedom to avoid if they feel that strongly. But the fact of the matter is, when you look at the actual things that vaccinations are supposed to prevent, right? The majority of those things, I'm not saying all, but that's a choice that people should be able to make. The majority of those things are highly curable here in the United States. When you weigh them against all the possible side effects that could happen, well, do I take a chance on one of these things that are so horrible happening as a side effect that are permanent against something that they might get that I can treat? I would rather go with that instead of pumping my kid's body with sometimes multiple different vaccinations at the same time, mixing a cocktail together. Sometimes it's 8 shots at a time. When we were younger, I think it was 15 vaccinations. It's up to 80 now. For kids. And
I do think that there's such thing as over vaccination.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's another way that I put it. Does smoking cigarettes cause cancer?
It greatly increases the risk.
Does it cause cancer?
Yes.
Okay. Does it cause cancer in everybody that smokes?
No.
Why is that? Because everybody's body reacts differently to substances that are introduced to it, right? And that's the reason why vaccinations, I believe, are harmful, but a choice that you should be able to make. Okay? I can understand why people want to vaccinate. I'm not saying that they're stupid for choosing that. I'm certainly being called stupid for the choices that we make. But just because that vaccination was tested on a certain group of people does not mean that that's the way that vaccination is going to react to my children's bodies. You know? So I think that there's definitely a lot of arguments out there for anti-vaccination that have nothing to do with autism. And by the way, autism isn't actually something that is diagnosed as like you can test it, and that's autism. I see this marker, and it's autism. Autism is actually classified and diagnosed by a list of symptoms that a person has.
Sure.
So it's a matter of, I believe, a certain amount of criteria that has to, like, boom, 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 for what falls under you being classified as having autism. But autism person A could have a list of different symptoms as autism person B, but they meet the requirement for the amount of things that they need to have diagnosed with that fall into that category to be diagnosed as autistic. Well, the funny thing is, when you look at the side effects of a lot of vaccinations, if you want to get into the autism talk, is that a lot of the side effects cause things that list into those symptoms. Not specifically all those symptoms, but there are videos of people who have these 3-year-old kids in the crib, or not 3 years old at that point, but like standing and being able to jump at that point. So 9 months maybe or something like that. And they're like overactive and everything. They get vaccinations and they're vegetables or catatonic in the crib, sitting there and like just dead to the world, you know? And that is what happened. You know, it was something that the vaccination caused. We have a friend coming up this weekend for our Memorial Day cookout who her mother got her vaccinated when she was a kid and she almost died from it. You know, I'm sorry if I'm looking and weighing these risks of having something that if my child happens to get it, I know that that's curable, versus taking a chance and throwing dice out there to see if they actually get something that once they do it and it's a side effect, it's permanent. I'm going to go with the other choice. You know what I mean? And all these people that are so scared of anti-vaxxers, if you're vaccinating against this stuff, you shouldn't be getting it. But guess what? It does happen because vaccinations are worth crap. They really are. Most of them wear off within a couple years and you're not getting revaccinated again anyway. And a lot of the things are for vaccinations for things that you would be your mind would be boggled if you actually looked into it. Here's another thing too. Did you know that when you go into a doctor, let's say that I really sparked an interest in you for some reason, okay? And you're like, you know what? I disagree with Chris, but maybe I should look into it a little bit more. And you go to the doctor and you say, you know, I had someone that said that there's this substance and this substance and everything in the vaccination. Before I give my kid the vaccination, do you mind if I see the ingredients on that vaccination before you do it? No, they can't show you. And the reason why is because the ingredients is on a list on the inside of the package, right? And they refuse to open the package
if they're not going to use it.
That leaves a lot of research to parents. And guess what? I'm sorry, the overall mentality out there is to be pro-vaccination, but there's not that many people that actually look into and invest in research into actually what goes into those things. You know? But then you have sites like I Effing Love Science that take every opportunity to jab into the anti-vaxxer movement without actually even looking past the autism argument. Because that's a minor thing. They always talk about this guy over in England that was supposedly disproven with his theories on autism on the whole thing. It's like it's a minor thing on my radar as far as all the things that I'm concerned about. That was me going on a rant, though.
Yeah.
So just so you know.
Yeah. I definitely think there's over vaccination. You know, I kind of tend to like the major diseases that have kind of been cured over the decades. There's kind of my like the measles, mumps, polio, stuff like that. But I can see where, you know, just throwing everything could be a problem.
Yeah. Just saying. I'm not trying to change your mind. You know, but it creates interesting conversation. That's for sure. And I think that man on the street thing would be pretty interesting. Yeah. Because I guarantee you, not many people listen. When a doctor recommends something to you to put into your child or to do something to you even, right? You rely on them for their professional opinion that they are making the right choice for you. But let's be honest. That is an educated guess. And in some cases when you actually look at it's pushed by a drug company, we've done the test, okay, it treats this, okay, I'll do that. I would really love to see how much research is actually done by doctors and scientists on oh, this is a vaccination you want me to push? Well, let me look into it and actually put some hours of research into it and see what it does and what the side effects are and what these studies have shown for it. And it's not that they're intentionally trying to be bad people, but they're overworked as it is. Like the nurses I know in my life and doctors I know in my life barely have time for their family. I don't expect them to be looking into that stuff either, but it's something that they should be doing. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, so I effing love science. Like I said, the reason why I follow them, even when they come up with these stupid articles that I disagree with, and they are very pro climate change, anti climate change deniers and everything, is because they have science articles that are fascinating. You know, especially advances in research on treating cancer. I personally, it is pretty emotional when you see these people put on these glasses and help them see color for the first time. Yeah. And it's like, if that's happening, the next step is contact lenses, and after that, surgical implants that it's solved. Or even beyond that, gene therapy that switches on what you should have had in the first place, which is even the most furthest step that you could go. I think, right? So these things are happening so fast, and I love those things from people like this.
And that's why it's so frustrating when if you do disagree with some things, you're labeled as anti-science.
Oh yeah,
even though there are so many other things about science that you love.
So I effing love science. Tried to throw a much needed lifeline to Bill Nye after real scientists started to troll him on Twitter. So what happened is, after the release of Bill Nye's new horrendous show on Netflix entitled Bill Nye Saves the World, a show that was recently ripped apart on the Reddit forum with a thread that earned its version of kind of like Facebook likes, with over 60,000 of these likes. A lot of people on Twitter started to question why Nye didn't include more actual scientists on his show, with a trending hashtag, which was #BillMeetScienceTwitter. Okay. Which I think is a lame hashtag, if you ask me. I think it could have been a little bit more creative than that.
Yeah, like the why Twitter.
Yeah, Bill Meet Actual Scientist or something. Yeah. So actual scientists started to coming out of the woodwork on Twitter using the hashtag to introduce themselves politely, mind you, and I will say that, to Bill Nye while referencing their credentials in fields of study. Eventually, Bill Nye responded with a tweet of his own that said, "I see you, Science Twitter. You are the aerodynamic laminar, I guess, flow beneath my wings." And I effing love science, for their part, propped up the situation and said that Nye responded brilliantly, as if the Twitter sphere had organized a campaign to help Bill Nye these scientists for future shows on his, and deviated away from the angle of criticism and poking fun of the show, which I think is what the real story is here, and the truth is, which is that Bill Nye had to respond because he got caught with his wannabe scientist pants down around his mechanical engineer ankles, and knew if he didn't kiss the rear ends of the actual scientific community, they would gather en masse and find every fallacy ever stated in his shows, articles, interviews, speeches, and appearances, and spotlight him for the clown that he actually is. I mean, how many... We've done it.
Yeah.
And you're talking about actual scientists. It was pretty cool seeing some of these scientists. Like, they were coming out with some pretty crazy things that they studied.
That they're studying,
The one wrote a book on the animal farts. Which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But that's what it comes down to, is like, Bill Nye, he got caught on this one. And this is the hypocrisy that we're talking about with I effing love science, which is they label you a science denier if you disagree with them in any manner, but they post funny and cool things that you want to look into. Well, the real story here is Bill Nye is an idiot, and he's pushing an agenda, mostly political, with his new show. His original show, I think, was more scientific.
What, Bill Nye, the science guy? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, his original show...
I thought you were going to go, Bill.
Oh, yeah. But, he's totally... It's all about politics now for him. Yeah, that's everything that he talks about is to push an agenda, and it's to silence skeptics, that they shouldn't even be allowed to speak, and he's just entering this whole, like... other plane of existence where it just hypocrisy and not making any sense reigns supreme.
Yeah.
And then these scientists are basically, like you said, pointing him out on it and saying, hey, this is what we're doing, actual science, and he, like you said, he has to respond because otherwise it just looks even more like an idiot.
Yeah, absolutely. We've said it before, he's become this creepy guy that just, he is condescending to everyone that disagrees with him and tries to publicly shame people. Which is interesting too, because what I find interesting is, and I've had this happen in my own personal life, there is a person in my life that was influential in me pursuing an artistic career. Right? I took a very high interest in art because of this individual. And that led me into graphic design, which then led me into marketing. I put those two together to try to be an art director. And this individual happened to be a homosexual. Okay. I showed up to his partner's funeral, okay, to show my support and everything. I personally feel it's a Christian thing to do. Is to show love and compassion no matter the circumstance, no matter if I feel something is wrong or not. And he knows I have publicly stated on social media, this guy is a mentor to me. He got me to love art and everything. I've had so many countless hours of art history, amazing things I've learned of world cultures and how they move around the world and everything. It's amazing. He defriended me because of my politics and everything, and in multiple cases on things that I posted about politics and everything, tried to take public jabs at me and try to do that. And again, I don't think I've ever defriended someone that disagreed with me politically, because again, that's like you and I disagreeing on a video game. It's an opinion. It's a microcosm of what we are as individuals. You're pro-vaccination, and your face fell apart when I was anti-vax.
You noticed that?
And you're like, man. I bought this guy a Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
No, that's not actually what I was thinking. It's not like, oh man, this guy. It was more like, oh man, I hope I didn't say something that like.
Oh no, because we have the intellectual capacity to disagree with each other and not blow up about it. You know what I mean? But that is not what is in Bill Nye's world. He is incapable of being able to disagree with someone respectfully. And he can't, he is not the guy that we grew up with. Which is
it's kind of heartbreaking too, because I loved his show when I was a kid.
I mean, it's us talking about Haas Whedon before the show actually started tonight on how on Mother's Day he said, thank God my mother's dead right now, because I would hate for her to live under a Trump administration. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about?
You have all the people. You have all the people responding who have mothers that have passed away that said, "Listen, I don't care who's president. I would give anything to have another day with my mom." Like, what the hell is wrong with people?
But we respect Haas for the Avengers and the Marvel movies,
and Firefly and Serenity.
You know, for
their craft, and the respect that we have at how good they are at their
and
job.
Actresses, Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson, who plays Bruce Banner.
Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo. They're crazy liberals. You have Robert Downey Jr., who's really the favorite of them all. Has said some pretty outlandish things as well. But I thank God that he keeps some control over it. I think he got involved in some of those commercials during the political season because of Haas. And everything. But it's disappointing when people like Bill Nye just turn around and try to politicize something that shouldn't even be in what they're doing. That is not what they were there for originally.
Now, one thing with Bill Nye, like, I mean, he's a mechanical engineer, not a scientist, but I can kind of see where, his platform is still science, but it's more so that what drives me nuts with actors and actresses is, and I brought this up last time, that half of your potential audience is one way and the other half is the other way. It's just not good business to piss off half of your potential customers. And one thing like I brought up earlier, I was at the Metallica concert a couple weeks ago, And one thing that I loved, I mean, especially with a lot of times with singers, yeah, and
we're being attacked again.
Yeah, I know, it's a bombardment. But like, you know, the Eddie Vedders of the world, and they like in the middle of, they got to stop their show to make this big political statement, you know, and it's just, I hate that, you know. And one thing that I loved at the Metallica concert, like second song in or whatever, James Hetfield gets up and says, listen, we don't care what color you are, what country you come from, your political BS. We don't care about any of that stuff. We're just here, your family, and we're here to have a good time and celebrate live music and stuff like that. And that's what you're supposed to do.
That's awesome.
That's what you're supposed to do, because you are, when you become an artist or an actor or a musician, you're putting your art out there for everyone, and you want to reach as many people as possible. And when you know you're alienating half of those potential people, it doesn't make any sense.
So
that's why I've turned my brain off to it.
I know.
For the most
here's
part.
something that really bothered me when I was in high school, middle school to high school. One of the big bands at the time, I consider still, and I fight myself on this, one of my favorite bands is Third Eye Blind.
Yeah.
Okay. They were hired a couple of years ago to do a GOP convention or a GOP event.
Yeah.
And they used that platform while they were on stage to rip into the Republicans.
Yeah.
At that convention or whatever. And it's like, that's not what you're getting paid for.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting paid to entertain.
Yep.
Okay, so put on the monkey suit and do your job.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, sorry, but that is what it is. You know, it's disappointing to all of us, because it's why I love Chris Pratt. Okay, he's an awesome actor. He's doing religious things, but I don't know where he stands politically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is the way it should be.
It is the way it should.
The way it should be. Yeah. Like I don't need to know your politics.
Yeah.
I don't care.
No.
I just want to watch you pretend to be something that you're not, and
yes.
read other
that
people's
is what you are.
Read other people's words that they wrote for you, you know, and that's all I want from you.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's what I always say about these celebrities that get involved in politics.
Yeah.
It's like Leonardo DiCaprio. Who's the old woman that is always involved in
Susan
things?
Sarandon.
Susan Sarandon.
Yeah, Tim Robbins,
Sean Penn. It's like, well, I played a politician on in a movie one time, so I believe that I could be politically active.
Yep.
Sean Penn went down and talked to
Chapo. El Chapo. Like, what the hell, man?
He also
nuts.
Who was it? Sean Penn. I know Dennis Rodman went over and talked
North
to Kim
Korea.
Jong-un.
Yeah. He had a whole documentary. Did you see that? Like, it's crazy. Like, you know that everything you're getting from North Korea, especially, it's all an act and a front of what the state is saying is okay. I mean, they don't have internet. They have, like, one news channel that's put on by the government. You know, like, it's... I mean, these people, like... Well, I mean, what do you expect from Dennis Rodman?
Careful, my sister adored him.
Oh.
She dyed her hair green to go to a Bulls game.
Oh, my God.
Time. She was less than 10 years old, I think, at the time. So the point here is just that Bill Nye has been ridiculous lately. I mean, we've talked about him in 3 podcasts now, because he just keeps on making the news. And it's always stupid things. He's always getting caught being an idiot. That's all it comes down to, you know? Okay, so speaking of frauds, we'll get to the last topic of the night here, which I thought was really funny. So a fake academic paper was published in a liberal journal and hilariously exposed the absurdity of contribution vetting of these journals, right? So Peter Boghossian and James Lindsay recently used pen names to submit an academic paper to a peer-reviewed academic journal to expose the absurdity of modern gender studies by arguing that the male reproductive organ, known as the penis, just in case you didn't know, is a social construct. The 3,000-word paper was titled The Conceptual Penis as a Social Construct, and was submitted and published to the Cogent Social Sciences academic journal in its May edition. Lindsay and Boghossian cited 20 sources in their paper, many of which they said were made up or never read. The paper was ridiculous by intention, essentially arguing that penises shouldn't be thought of as male genital organs, but as damaging social constructions. And they said, we assumed that if we were merely clear in our moral implications that maleness is intrinsically bad and that the penis is somehow at the root of it, we could get the paper published in a respectable journal. That's what they explained. We didn't try to make the paper coherent. That was the intention. Instead, we stuffed it full of jargon like discursive and ismorphism. Nonsense like arguing that hypermasculine men are both inside and outside of certain discourses at the same time. Red flag phrases like pre-post patriarchal society. Pre-post-patriarchal society. Lewd references to slang terms for the penis. Insulting phrasing regarding men, including referring to some men who choose not to have children as being unable to coerce a mate. And allusions to rape. We stated that manspreading, a complaint levied against men for sitting with their legs spread wide, is akin to raping the empty space around him. After completing the paper, we read it carefully to ensure it didn't say anything meaningful, and as neither of us could determine what it actually was about, we deemed it a success. Yeah. And here's what the paper states. Here's one of the things from it. Nowhere are the consequences of hypermasculine machismo, braggadocio, ismorphic identification with the conceptual penis more problematic than concerning the issue of climate change. Climate change is driven by nothing more than it is by certain damaging themes in hypermasculinity that can be best understood via the dominant rapacious approach to climate ecology identifiable with the conceptual penis. Our planet is rapidly approaching the much warned about 2 degrees Celsius climate change threshold, and due to patriarchal power dynamics that maintain present capitalist structures, especially with regard to the fossil fuel industry, the connection between hypermasculine dominance of scientific, political, and economic discourses and the irreparable damage to our ecosystem is made clear. And they even say it's not supposed to make sense at all.
This is the educational journal's equivalent to a pineapple on a table.
Yes. Oh, look at that! The penis is a social construct. I didn't even know.
Oh my god!
So, besides the fact that this is a hilarious story, the real underlying issue here is the fact that nonsense is obviously poorly vetted before it's published. So how much nonsense is out there that people are actually using in arguments that were published by people who pushed opinion over fact? Mm-hmm. In this case, with this journal specifically, what they said is that these the topics in this journal are vetted twice, double vetted, it's called, right? Mm-hmm. So this was looked over at least twice, and they were like, wow, that is some scientific, intellectual...
These guys must be super smart.
That went way over my head. Yeah, so.
There's a genius level. Yeah, and if they didn't come out and say that this was all baloney, I mean, it would just be a couple of weeks before Rachel Maddow's blabbing about it on MSNBC.
They should have let it go to see how many people they could put in together in a video montage. Really
5 panel heads just all talking about how the penis is ruining the world, causing climate change.
Rachel Maddow comes out and says, well, I've known that the penis is a social construct for years, and that's why I've stayed away from it. Oh man! So one of the problems here is that people like you and I are called science deniers, and worse when it comes to climate change theory. But how can we even be certain of what science is actually rooted in good research anymore? Right? It's ridiculous and anti-intellectual to argue that we blanket trust these people with what they're saying based on studies just because of subject matter at hand of what the issue is. In this case, it was a case in gender studies, basically, is what they were trying to push in this one. But certainly something like climate change.
Gender studies shouldn't even be a thing anymore.
Oh my gosh.
It's ridiculous.
But the article is pretty hilarious. The full read, if you get a chance, is actually really, really
Man,
fun.
I don't even know how you got through that sentence. Was that a run-on? Was that one sentence?
No.
Was it a run-on sentence? It sounded like it.
I was just on a roll.
It sounded like it. I mean, I don't know how anyone can read that.
Let me go back here.
A lot of commas and semicolons.
1, 2... It was only 3 sentences.
Oh my god, man. You read like a paragraph with all these made up words?
Oh, man. That is crazy stuff.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if what you said is what actually happened. People were like, man, I don't understand this, so it must be just way over my head. And, you know, it's like trying to get a grasp on the ever-expanding universe.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess, you know, and I think I mentioned this in another podcast, too, in regards to scientists, science theory and stuff, is that within the past couple of years, scientists have come out against the Big Bang Theory and have gone against that now. But I guess Stephen Hawking just came out against those scientists and everything. So I found that pretty interesting. I don't really have a voice on the matter or opinion on the matter.
Yeah, we don't know.
But it's always theories. You know, if they're proven wrong.
It's like I said, they never called the Big Bang fact.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always been the theory. So,
but listen, I appreciate everybody tuning in. This was actually probably one of our more interactive and people tuning in and commenting and everything. I love that. And even if you disagree, tune in and everything. These podcasts can be spontaneous kind of with Facebook Live.
Yep.
Because the full episode that I mainly care about gets edited and put on YouTube, and the episode audio-wise airs on Sundays. Those are really what I care about. So, Mike kind of mentioned it earlier, which is if you're on YouTube and you subscribe to me, which I encourage you to do, click on the bell notifying you when my videos come up. It'll show up in your subscription feed. If you're on Facebook, right under the banner there, once you like the page, search for the Generation Y Conservative for both of these. There's a following button with kind of a signal going out. Just hover over that and then go down to get notifications. And you'll actually be notified. It'll say the Generation Y Conservative is going live. So you'll get that on your phone or wherever you are. You can tune in and watch a podcast. And if you're a liberal and you disagree, tune in and start commenting. I'd love to see people actually interacting with each other while the podcast is going on.
Yeah, answering questions. It would be cool to even have a section where we like take questions or whatever. And even when people disagree, just have a conversation.
Absolutely.
You know, and talk. One thing that I saw this week was Steven Crowder again had on Mark Duplass. Do you know who he is?
Yes. Yeah.
He's from The League, which is one of my favorite comedies ever.
He's
a liberal.
Awesome.
Yes, but he is fantastic, and his whole approach. And Steven Crowder even tried to sucker him in a little bit with the whole abortion talk and everything. And he kind of stuck to his guns, like, listen, I know we disagree on some things, but my whole point of coming on, and I guess he interacts with Glenn Beck as well,
and Dave
Rubin, is to not talk about the things that we already know we fundamentally disagree on, and nobody's changing it. Let's talk about what we agree on and build on that, and maybe build something from both sides together that will help people out. So I'm loving it. I actually sent him a message on Twitter saying, "Hey man, I loved your approach thing." So
I need to do that too because I meant to do that.
Yeah, and we definitely.
I think he needs to hear that support from the other side.
And it'd be great to talk to people with opposing viewpoints and just kind of see where you're coming from and find common ground and things like that. And if you do go on and watch the YouTube video, they can be pretty long, you know. But in the description, you started putting in like timestamps. You'll have each topic. You can just go and click if you want to see a specific topic. Just click on it, and you'll be able to.
And I'm also starting to split off some of the funnier segments and
just
and main topics,
standalone videos,
so that people can share them a little bit more easily too. If you want to interact with me on Twitter, you can find me at Gen Y Conservative without the E on the end. You can always, like I said, listen to me on KLRN Internet Radio from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Sundays. Sometimes it only goes till 5. I have that whole time period, and the podcast sometimes doesn't go that long. They've also put me onto iTunes, so you can listen to me on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher Radio. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. It was a great night, great topics, great people interacting. Happy Memorial Day. Thank you to everyone out there that has served our country. Those that have fallen, we thank you, even however you're hearing us, through the beyond and from heaven and whatnot.
I see some of you here today.
I see some of you tuning in. As Obama would say. But certainly thank you to all of our veterans that are serving as well. Have a great time. Spend time with family this weekend. Enjoy the holiday. Nothing's more American than celebrating a holiday by stuffing your face.
Absolutely. And happy birthday tomorrow to my son Jackson.
Absolutely. Happy birthday, 6. Jackson. So thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great night, and God bless America.